Alrighty, welcome everybody back to another episode of the Ball Knower Podcast Team Preview Series. I'm your host, as always, David Miller, joined today by three very special guests. And if you can't tell by the two gentlemen to my right here with the jerseys they're wearing, we're going to be talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today. So I'll go ahead and give everybody an opportunity to go ahead and introduce themselves. And if you're, got anything going on social media, any sort of content and whatnot, you can go ahead and plug it as well. I'll let you do that.
Who are we starting off with?
You.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, you talk first, so it's you.
All right, I guess. My name's Dominic. Last name's Valdez. I don't know how much y'all want to know. But I do have something going on social media. I'm trying to build up a following there. It's gameofinches47 on TikTok. Outside of that, I guess you could just say I've been a fan of the Bucs for a few years now. Jameis Winston's last season was the first time I got really into football. So I'm also a Jameis, stan. But outside of that, I'm just your ordinary go-to fan.
Fair enough. Daniel, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. My name is Daniel Starzitnik. I'm a sergeant in the United States Marine Corps, so it's really cool that I finally get to come out and talk about something that I love, because work is miserable. I've been a Buccaneer fan since I was 5. I started liking football the year after we won the Super Bowl, sadly, back in 2002, because that was about when I understood what was going on. So I sat through Chris Sims, Josh McCown, Josh Freeman, Jameis Winston, and now Tom Brady, which has been incredible. But yeah, I lived through the dark ages, and like I said, I had season tickets for 3 seasons. And fun fact, one of the years I went to every single home game, and we lost every single home game. We went 2-14, and that was the year before we drafted Jameis. So,
oh my god. My name's Ashlie. I've been a Bucs fan since I was about 5, kind of like Daniel. The year after we won the Super Bowl is kind of when I started picking it up too. I was born in '96, so I didn't really get to see the Super Bowl run,
Nice.
the really early one. So I've been through it all with Jameis, Chris Sims, Josh Freeman, all of them. Downtown Brady, it's been a great ride. I do write occasionally about the Bucs for all things Bucs on Twitter, and have my own podcast that I do from time to time. And yeah, just been a lifelong fan, really.
That's awesome.
Yep, awesome. Before we get started talking about the Bucs here, Daniel, thank you for your service. I
appreciate it.
I was going to say it at the end. I can say it now since you said it. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess the best place to start talking about the Bucs here is kind of talk about the off season and 3 retirements. Well, 2 technically, if you want to get technical about it, but the 3 retirements this team dealt with, obviously, with Brady, Gronk, and Ali Marpet. And I want to start with Brady, just because now we know he's going to play this year. What were your initial reactions to Tom Brady announcing that he was done with football?
I definitely was actually expecting it. I thought he was going to be done. And even when, in the off season, when everybody said, "Oh, he's coming back," I didn't believe it until I saw the video of him talking to Cristiano Ronaldo. I didn't believe. I was like, he's not coming back. We just have to cope, deal with Kyle Trask for 1 year, and we'll draft a new guy when he tanks us. So that was my expectation. When he came back, I'm not joking, I got goosebumps.
I think my first concern wasn't necessarily that Brady was gone. I was on the same page as Dominic. I was like almost expecting him to retire. I'm surprised he made it this long. I'm surprised he came back. The only thing that made me think that he would want to come back was the way that he lost. Coming back 27-3 to then just have the safety blow it in the final seconds of the game, I feel like that left a bitter taste in his mouth. So I kind of thought he was going to come back, but at the same time, I was preparing for the future. I was looking at, who are we going to trade for, or, who are we going to try to sign to fill the gap? Because I was really expecting Garoppolo to come. I thought San Francisco was going to get rid of Garoppolo. He was going to come to us, and he would just slot into a team that was still in win now mode. But yeah, that was my thoughts on that.
See, I guess I kind of thought differently. I thought kind of like how you said, Daniel, that the way he lost kind of didn't sit right with him. I thought he was going to come back just because he'd want that one back, because it was pretty bad. Like, for the most of the game, it was pretty bad, and then to lose like that, had to leave a sour taste in his mouth. That, and the fact that he played so well last season. I mean, 5,000 yards, almost another 50 touchdowns between like the regular season and the postseason. Kind of just had me like, that's how you're going to end it? Like, are you sure? And then once he retired, I was like, okay, I guess we're going to be trading for somebody, like you said, Jimmy G, or maybe even Kirk Cousins before he got re-signed. I was just shocked. I was like, wow, yeah, he really hung it up. It is what it is.
I'm glad that we have an hour to an hour and a half to talk, because Tom Brady should have won the MVP last year. Aaron Rodgers did not deserve the MVP. And I will defend that to my grave.
I mean, if you want to go for it, go ahead.
Let's continue. We'll hit that.
Okay.
Later.
Okay. Fair enough.
We'll put him in the grave when the show's over.
Okay.
We'll get through the
Fair
show
enough.
first for you.
Fair enough. All right. I mean, honestly, if this goes over 90 minutes, I don't care. I had one of these go 3 hours before. It's just kind of however long the conversation is. I aim for 90 minutes, but if we go over that, it's totally fine. It's not a big deal whatsoever. But I really didn't think Brady was going to retire. I was definitely with Ashlie. I really thought that losing like that in the playoffs would be the last way Brady would want to be remembered, especially like in his last year. And it was kind of like the same thing with his last year with the Patriots, when everyone thought he would retire because he got beat in the wild card game. It's Tom Brady. He's not going out on a devastating loss like that. He's either going out as Super Bowl champion, or he's going out as someone who physically cannot play the game anymore. And as Ashlie said, he had one of the best years of his career, at least statistically, last season. And there's no way Brady doesn't think he has more left in the tank. So for him to announce his retirement was like borderline world breaking, because I haven't lived in a world where Tom Brady's not playing quarterback. He's played the position longer than I have been alive in the NFL, which is absolutely insane. So literally my world was broken, even as somebody who's not a Bucs fan. I love Tom Brady. I'm a huge Tom Brady fan. And to think that I was going to have to watch football without him in it next year, and let the bad man Aaron Rodgers be the best quarterback in football or whatever, that I didn't like the thought of that. So for him to come back was huge. I'm so glad he came back. And again, just despite the bad man, again, it gives us another opportunity to keep him out of the Super Bowl, just because I think the Buccaneers with Brady are the best team in the NFC right now. So I am really, really glad that Brady came back and didn't stay retired. But other than Brady, the other two retirements obviously were Ali Marpet and Gronk. And I'm still not convinced Gronk isn't going to come back at some point. Like, I know if Brady calls him up week 8 because the tight end has a bad drop, Gronk's going to show up at training camp or at practice the next day. Like, I really don't think that's going to last. Dominic doesn't agree with me. Go ahead. What do you think, Dominic?
The thing is I'm not convinced. But the thing is, like, every time, Gronk retired. Well, I kind of the same thing you said. Like, he's going to come back whenever Brady calls, right? But that interview, I can't remember who held the interview. It went pretty viral. Of the guy interviewing Gronk and saying, "Hey, are you going to come back if Brady calls?" It just sounded definitive. Like, yeah, I'm done. I don't know. And, maybe that's just him being very convincing. He definitely could be just trying to fool everybody. It's not like he hasn't done this once already. But I don't know. It just seemed like he was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not doing this again.
I don't want to downplay – Sorry about that. I know you're finished.
Go ahead.
I don't want to downplay Gronkowski's retirement, but I think that for him to retire, that was the position that we could lose someone and not be concerned. I think we just signed Kyle Rudolph to fill his spot, who I think is a fantastic tight end. On top of that, Cameron Brate knows the system, has been with the team for many years and was the 1-2 punch with Gronkowski. Like, I think we have a good depth at the position. I think the only thing that hurts is, he did have that chemistry with Tom Brady. Like Tom could look at Gronk and they'd know, like, okay, yeah, don't block this guy, go for a pass, and then, be able to touch a quick touchdown in the red zone or catch a quick touchdown in the red zone. I think that is where it hurts the most. But as far as talent wise, I think Brate and Rudolph are more than capable enough as tight ends.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of with Dominic. I don't know. Like, I guess I don't think Gronk comes back because of the way he kind of ended it in a way. He sounded like he was done. He sounded like he retired and came back already and did the whole thing. And he's had enough about, the injuries that he faced last year and just the toll it takes on your body at that age. Kind of like how Daniel said, I think we do have great depth. I love Cam Brate. I think that he's underrated in all the aspects. He's a pretty decent blocker. He's a great red zone threat. I think he has the most red zone touchdowns as a tight end for like the last almost decade for the Bucs franchise. And then they also drafted Cade Otten and Ko Keith, who are also very decent blockers. So I think that that's not going to be a drastic drop off in talent. I mean, prime Gronk is prime Gronk, but for what they'll ask of them to do, I don't think it's going to be something that's like, oh, wow, yeah, they're really lacking at tight end. So to what Daniel said, I feel like if we're going to be low at a position, tight end, or like if we're going to have a loss at a position, tight end wasn't like the big drastic hammer coming down figuratively that most people probably saw who are like outsiders looking in on it.
Everybody definitely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, everybody thought definitely like when he retired, because we hadn't signed Kyle Rudolph yet, that we were done, because outside of that, we did have a rookie tight end, and everybody knows rookie tight ends are not normally, the most productive. So everybody thought that we were, oh, this is a big scary spot. But not only do I think that with these new additions that we're going to be just fine, but like, I don't even think it's going to be like a remote problem. I love Cameron Brate, like you said. Cameron Brate is a good touchdown. He's like good in the red zone. I remember the year with Jameis, his last year. He wasn't, Mr. Productive or anything, but he was reliable. And I think that's all we truly need, considering we also signed Julio Jones and have the best, in my opinion, the best wide receiver core in the league now. Again.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up to when Ashlie said that he was he's wildly underrated. I actually think, and I'm biased, but I think there's a lot of players on Tampa that are wildly underrated. My biggest player is Mike Evans. Now I get he's my favorite player, so again I am biased, but to go hit first 8 seasons in the league over 1,000 yards, and there's still this like stigma with him that he's only a red zone player, is hard for me to swallow. Like he has better production over the past 3-4 seasons than your Hopkins or your Diggs, players of that nature, statistically. And then off the field, I read everywhere that he's an incredible leader and he helps the younger players and things like that. It's hard to hear like people do like their top 7-10 wide receiver lists and Mike Evans, isn't even on there. I'm like, I think that's criminal.
I'm one of the guys that's kind of like rising up on Mike Evans as well, because I try to be as non-biased as possible. And the lowest I can see you having him is 11. And I people that go below that, I just like turn on the tape, because his criticisms is, oh, he doesn't offer anything after the catch, or he's kind of one-dimensional. He's just that big, deep threat who contested catch guy. You turn on the film this season, he did so much more than that. I still will admit that after the catch, he's not great, but he was so dynamic this season, and he's in my top 10 as of right now.
I put him as 7, just to keep the bias out of it. As much as I want to make him top 5, sometimes I try to convince myself that he's like number 4. I think realistically he's number 7.
I probably have him about 7 or 8 in the league. It kind of just depends on what you value more. If you're looking for a guy who's going to have 130 catches a season, then he's probably going to be a little bit lower on your list. But if you take into account the success rate, the bursts off the line of scrimmage, the amount of routes that you win against separation, I think he's a little bit higher. But for me, like the biggest underrated player would probably Levante David. I love him. I think that he is easily I don't know, I could be biased, but I think he's the best in the league at what he does and it consistently. He's so much fun to watch. And I think a lot of people kind of forgot just how well he played because of last season. And he even came out at the beginning of this new season, the new league season, and said that he was playing on one leg and that he was probably 40% the whole season and still put up almost 100 tackles and, a couple of sacks. I think that he's just otherworldly, and I will die on that hill.
Devin White is a little bit overrated, and Levante David is severely underrated because everybody looked at Devin White. Levante David is the best linebacker in Tampa Bay, and he's an absolute menace. He's a stud.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you guys just said. I love Devin White, and I think he's a fantastic player, but Levante David is the best player on our defense. And I bring up, I got to find it. I think 4 years ago, Luke Kuechly, did he win Defensive Player of the Year or
his rookie season?
Knowing him, probably.
Yeah, so I think he either won Defensive Player of the Year or he was in the running. Since we play the Panthers twice a year, they always bring up like statistics and they'll put the comparison next to each other. That year that that he did so well, Levante David had more tackles for loss, more sacks, and one more interception at the time that we played them, which was later in the year, but I think it was like 12 or 13, like week 12 or 13. So it was, again, hard because I see that there's a lot of bias with, like, you can be great, but if you're on a crappy team, you're really overlooked. And that's what I meant too by, like, Mike Evans for the first, 6 years was on a team that didn't have a winning season. And I think it was the same thing with Levante David. I think he statistically was one of the best players in the league at his position, but we were always overlooked because, every once in a while a team would drop 45 on us. So it's like, how good can you be?
Yeah.
I feel like team success shouldn't limit your success as an individual. I feel like it happens every year. There's a great player on each team, no matter how you look at it. And that player, if they're on a bad team, they're never really going to get recognized unless they're playing a primetime game or if they do some Sports Center type play where they have like a great interception or they run a touchdown back. And that's kind of like you said, with what's happened with Mike and Levante, and you have guys like Luke Kuechly who were always in the spotlight and Bobby Wagner who is always in the spotlight. Mm-hmm. But if you want to break it down statistically, Levante has had a better career than both of them. And anytime you bring it up, being like, oh, Levante is a better linebacker, they're like, what do you mean? I haven't heard about Levante before 2020. And it's like, well, if you just watch a game, you'll understand. It's crazy to me, like just how underrated some of the best players in the league could be.
I think also what really happens with I would say probably people who are a little younger than us, they do the Madden bias. The Madden ratings will come out and they'll be like, oh, well, Levante David's only 85 overall on Madden, so clearly these 5 other people in the same position, the linebackers are clearly better than him. It's like, you don't understand football, do you?
Madden is not real life.
Madden is not great with their ratings. They're not horrible.
No, they're awful.
Every single year.
Don't try to give them credit. They're awful.
No, they're bad.
No idea what they're doing.
Good, horrendous. And there's just one person you're looking at there like, why are they even in this list? They shouldn't even be like within 10 overall points of where they're at.
Yeah, it's rough.
And then you have like the what I refer to not publicly, but like in my head is the adult Madden, when you get these lists that like players and coaches and GMs and stuff will put out, and you see guys that have no right being anywhere near the top 10 that are in the top 10. And I mean, no offense by this, but like we saw the consensus linebacker rankings that came out or whatever, and Devin White was a top 5 linebacker in football. Like that's asinine. Like Devin White's good at what he does, but he's not some elite linebacker. I'm with Dominic 100%. He's overrated. But then you look at Lavonte David, like Ashlie said, who has been one of the better linebackers of football consistently over the course of a long period of time, and is still a top 3 or 4 guy in the league at his age of what, 31, 32? Like he's getting up there in age, and he's still performing at a high level. And I think the problem
nobody realizes it.
Yeah, because people don't watch the games. That's the problem. People sit on Twitter and they look at what their experts say, or they sit and look at the stat sheet and they don't sit down and actually watch it. Or TikTok's the worst. TikTok is the worst. As someone who makes content on TikTok, it's the worst. 3 years. It's the worst. It really is the worst. Like, I'll put it this way. I'm not a football expert. I know a little bit. But I see people, and I don't mean this as like I don't want to sound salty or like an asshole or something, but there are people with 4 or 5, even 6 times my platform that just got into football like a year ago, and people listen to them like they're preaching the gospel. And it's absolutely insane to me, because what it is you get these little kids who are like 12, 13, they're just getting into the sport, and they see somebody who does like a funny skit, or they say something with cool music behind them, and they're like, this guy's got a big following. He knows what he's talking about. I don't have to actually watch the game to form an opinion now. And you get guys like Lavonte David or Mike Evans that get no credit because they're never in these conversations. With Mike Evans, I think the big thing is he just doesn't make big, flashy plays. Like Daniel said, he's incredibly consistent. He's a fantastic number 1 receiver, but he's not the type of guy who's going to take a screen pass 80 yards, or he's not the type of guy who's going to break somebody's ankles on a route. He's just a big dude that knows what he needs to do. He knows how to use his body to win one-on-one, and he does it very successfully. He's not Jamar Chase. He's not Tyreek Hill. He's not some fun, flashy, super fast player, but he's damn good at his job, and he's damn consistent at it. So he gets overlooked because he doesn't make the fun splash plays. And it's insane to me. It just boils down to plain ignorance because people don't want to sit and watch the game. It's absolutely pathetic.
For everybody who's like, oh, 1,000 yards is such an arbitrary number, or they pass so much in Tampa Bay over the past few years. That's why he's always got 1,000. He's gotten injured the past 3 years at the end of the season. I'm pretty sure all 3 years. If not, it's at least 2. And he still gets the 1,000 yards. He does it every single year. Consistency is the most underrated thing, I think, in the NFL, just in terms of when people rank coaches, when people rank players, and not to go off track from the Bucs, but that's why I think Pete Carroll is a little bit underrated. Just the consistency is key. It's not just a saying. It's truly
But I think
you want to talk about coaches, Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, I was going to say Tomlin's a better example of that, because I think Carroll's kind of taken a step back the past couple of years. But Tomlin's been consistent. Like, I used to be a big-time Tomlin hater, but I've realized the error of my ways now. Tomlin's a damn good coach, and he usually
like the Steelers because he don't like their fans.
Yes. Listen, growing up in Maryland, they're the worst.
He managed to keep the Steelers. He's never had a losing record as the head coach of the Steelers. And there was one year where what's the backup quarterback there?
Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, Mason Rudolph. Yeah, he was their QB, and they didn't have a losing record. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mike Tomlin is a consensus top 3 coach in my opinion.
To your point though, I think consistency needs to be one of the, in my opinion, it should be one of the more important things that we look at when judging players. It's hard for me, and I don't want to downplay the season that they had because I think they're incredible, but someone like Jamar Chase, he had one great season, and I get it's his first season, but people rank him in the top 5 already as receivers. It's slow down.
I don't know. You've
had one year.
I get what you mean from a a production standpoint. But some of these guys that are coming into the league now, you see what they're capable of doing on film, and there's just guys that can't do it. And Jamar Chase is one of those players. Like, I definitely get your argument. I 100% see where you're coming from. But me personally, when I see a guy that's capable of doing what Chase is doing, I'm going to give him his roses no matter what. Like, I have Jamar Chase as a top 5 receiver. I have Micah Parsons as a top 5 linebacker. Like, they're not the norm. They're the exception, but I get what you mean, and I understand what you're trying to say.
To your point, though, Zeke, his first 2 seasons were incredible, and since then they've been he has not been anything close to what he was, and the Cowboys have had an incredible offensive line since then. So it has been him, maybe the offensive play calling, but if we were back then, you would rate Zeke as probably a top 5 running back at the time. Well, now he's not.
Yeah.
So.
That's also been like, I don't want to sound like a smart ass. I was about to say something that would really make me come off like a smart ass. That's also been 5 years ago now. Like it's just a difference of time. And like running backs are such a fluid position to rank because of how easy it is for one of them to have a bad year or how easy it is to have a really good year as a running back, that it's just a fluid position that I feel like your rankings are going to change every single year unless you have a guy like Derrick Henry, who's been dominating for however long. And that's very rare to do as a running back, at least in today's NFL.
Yeah.
I think to your point,
I guess it's a little harder with running back too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is the running backs, because if there's anything you should realize about the NFL today is that running backs, their prime is their first 2 years. So I think Zeke truly was, he was very explosive when he came out. He was that, at least that tier of running back, and he has obviously fallen off since. I think that with the whole Jamar Chase point, like I used to hate ranking rookies high because I ranked Baker high, and then he's been Baker Mayfield since. And then Justin Jefferson came out, and it kind of turned my philosophy. And basically, I give them their flowers until they're inconsistent, rather than saying you haven't been consistent yet.
Right. That's where I'm at too. And I do think it kind of varies dependent on position. Like quarterback, I'm not going to put a guy high after 1 year just because quarterback is another position that's really fluid and it's really easy for one of those guys to have a down year. But when you're looking at like receivers or linebackers, like I said with Micah Parsons, if you're watching the tape and they have traits that just jump out at you, like I said, Jamar Chase is just such a crafty receiver that's capable of doing pretty much anything. When you have that, assuming they're not going to get hurt, it's very likely that they're going to continue what they're doing. Like, yeah, their production might go down a little bit, but they're still going to be that type of player where they're that level of elite. So I don't see a problem with ranking a guy like Jefferson or Chase or Parsons high. But if we're talking young quarterbacks, I mean, other than like, what's Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow, like I'm not going to rank anybody from last year's class high until they prove something, even though I think Trevor Lawrence is a generational talent. And obviously as a Bears fan, I want to give Justin Fields as much credit as possible. I'm just not going to rank them until I see a little bit more out of them. So I think it's a little bit harder with quarterbacks, just to your Baker Mayfield point. But with other positions, I feel like it's a lot easier to get away with, dependent on what you're seeing on tape. Because that's my thing. I'm tape over production all the way. If you look good in the game, but you're not necessarily producing, I'll give you a pass. But if it becomes a consistent issue where you're not producing, it's another thing.
I also think that running backs have a very small shelf life. It's kind of like a big thing, like a joke. I would say that after you hit 27, it is what it is. You kind of start having that big regression as a running back. And I feel like Zeke's kind of been on that downward slope, kind of like how Daniel said for the last couple of years. But I think that it's kind of catching up to him now. So I feel like you said, that running back is one of those positions that you can kind of have a revolving door on every year. There's never really like a top running back year after year after year. Like last year it was Derrick Henry. This year it could be someone like Austin Eckler or Nick Chubb. We really don't know. We're probably not going to know till halfway through the season.
Yeah. I was going to say something. Yeah, Ashlie, I mean, absolutely hit the nail on the head there. It's really rare to see running backs nowadays be worth like a second contract. So even earlier than 27 at times, it feels like their shelf life expires. Like, for example, the Bears have, in my opinion, a top 10 running back in David Montgomery. And there are talks of the Bears not extending him. Like he's a stud running back. He's phenomenal and he produces well. He's consistent. But because he's not like this otherworldly talent like a Derrick Henry or a Jonathan Taylor or a Nick Chubb, it's like, do we really keep him around? Do we really spend the money on him? It's running backs are weird to rank. And I think it's so funny.
Too. I think they value other positions other than running backs.
I think position value is a goofy concept to begin with. If a guy can ball out, a guy can ball out. I don't care what position he's playing.
Positional value is like, it's important, but especially like platforms like TikTok have started to overrate it, and to the point where like people legitimately believe you should base your entire draft around positional value. It's like,
it's goofy.
No,
I mean, I can see positional value with certain positions. Like if we're talking quarterback, edge rusher, left tackle, I get it. But outside of that, if I'm looking at a corner and a safety and the safety is like better, I'm not going to just take the corner because he's a corner. Or if we're looking at like defensive tackle versus defensive end, whoever's better is going to, they're going to get the leeway. I just think
or just plug the holes that you have.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, I think team needs.
Right.
Team needs over anything.
Yeah. I think you can get away with drafting need to a certain extent. It just kind of depends on what you need. Like I will say positional value does come into account during the draft. Like I'm not a big fan of drafting a running back in the first round. So like if your number one needs running back, I feel like you should wait. But anything else, absolutely. It's kind of weird. I have a weird relationship with positional value, I guess is the best way I can put it. Because I hate it, but I don't. I understand it, but I don't. It's hard to explain.
I think to your point too, like after talking it through, I like having discussions about sports. But after talking it through, like I agree with what you guys said, especially I think running back too, because with a wide receiver, to your point, I feel like it's more straightforward, not to like take away from what they're doing, but if you're a great wide receiver, like you'll be able to burn whoever you're going against, like if you're great. But with a running back, it's like, you get handed the ball, you need to have a good offensive line to be able to even produce. So like you could be the shiftiest, quickest running back there is. If you're going up the A gap, you're going to need help either way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing too. There are some positions that are reliant on other positions. Well, every position's reliant on other positions, but there's some that are more reliant than others. And I think running back is probably the most reliant, which is why the value of running backs is kind of decreased. Yeah. Because if you don't have a good offensive line, you're not going to have a good run game. Like this isn't the 1990s where Barry Sanders can run past literally anybody in existence. You need a good line to protect any running back that's going to be out there. And all of the best running backs have really good offensive lines. So it's just a little bit different with them. Like you can see on tape, you can see a good receiver have a bad quarterback. Like there's one play that always sticks out, and I'm going to bring it up because I'm a Bears fan, where Darnell Mooney absolutely torched Jalen Ramsey, who's the consensus number one corner. Like torched him all the way down the sideline. Perfect play, perfect route running, perfect release, perfect everything. But the ball got sailed 20, 30 yards over his head because it was Nick Foles trying to throw a deep ball. So it's like, the receiver made the good play. You can tell he's doing something good, but it's not going to show up for anybody who's not actually paying attention because there was no play made.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I like the tape over production, because there's a lot of plays like that go, overshadowed or don't get looked at because there's no yards gained. There's no touchdown made, but it's still somebody doing something super impressive. And that's why I will always preach tape over production.
I was going to say, as a good transition, I think Ali Marpet retiring is really, really bad for us. Same thing. Yeah, him and losing him and Alex Kappa were huge, I think, because we had one of the best offensive lines in the league, and those are two big holes that we tried to fill because we got Shaq Mason, and I think Shaq Mason is, he fills the hole pretty well. But now with training camp starting and having Jensen go out for probably the entire year.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. They fear that he tore his ACL.
JC Treader time in Tampa is needed.
Yeah.
I mean, hey. Do you guys have the money for that?
I don't know. Make it work.
Fair enough.
Ask Mike Evans to take a fourth pay cut or
fair enough.
Restructure,
do it. You tell Brady to do it. You say, hey, listen, you take this pay cut or you're going to be on your ass 90% of the year, and you're 45 now, so you got to make some business decisions here.
Yeah, because at the
My
moment,
biggest fear is gonna be like Robert Hainsey. He's the guy, and unfortunately,
and he has
like
looked terrible.
from what I've heard, he's been very shaky. They also have Luke Giodecki, who they also drafted, plays some center, and it's just like I understand wanting to grow those guys that you drafted to play that position, but like you
We're
have
in
Tom
win now
Brady
mode.
quarterback
yeah.
for one
We're
last
in
season.
win
Like,
now
don't.
mode.
This is it. This is our last season before 10 more years of the Dark Ages. So
Yes, it truly is.
yeah.
I don't think Tom Brady's coming back after next season.
I don't know.
I
He doesn't have.
Listen, if something goofy happens in the playoffs, you know damn well that man is going to ride another year purely off of spite.
I really don't think so.
I
think
don't see it. I just don't.
Yeah,
see
Maybe
it.
maybe I'm too optimistic for Brady because Brady's like an otherworldly being in my mind.
the fact that he retired in the first place, in my mind, makes me go, okay, he was close,
Fair.
but just wants to put it. He just wants to give it all one more shot.
Fair enough.
It did take some convincing from multiple people for him to come back.
Fair
And
enough.
and then again back to the game. I think if we did lose that game 27-3, like we never came back, I think then it's like, okay, then we did our best. We lost to the better team.
Because
But
he
to
truly
lose,
did not play that well in that game.
yeah, to lose the way that we did is probably like it still hurts me, and I'm not even on the team, and I'm sure it kills them.
And it was such a Brady game too. All the shenanigans that went down at the end just for him to get within reach. Like it just felt like 28-3 again. Off by 1 point.
It was all of the heroes from our Super Bowl run. Mike Evans got the touchdown to put us a touchdown away. Fournette ran it in to tie the game. It was like our best players and the acquisitions from the Super Bowl run brought everything back, and then we blew it.
And it pains me because I'm also an FSU fan. So Cam Akers, when he fumbled the ball 4 times, I would sit there like, yay, yay. Like, I have such mixed emotions.
It hurts because that final drive too, right before they threw the like 50-yard bomb to Cooper Kupp, we sacked Stafford. He was trying to just run up the middle for a little bit. And they smacked the ball out of his hand. He stubbled it, and he caught it like midway down before he went down. So it was like it went from he almost fumbled to us picking it up for a field goal to win the game to a 50-yard bomb to them winning the game. It's like it was incredible. And I truly think that if we did win that game, we would have won the Super Bowl. I think the 49ers would have been a cakewalk in Tampa. No offense to the 49ers. And at the time, our defensive line was one of the best in the league as well. So to go against Joe Burrow and his crappy offensive line, I think we would have annihilated
We already showed what we can do in the Super Bowl against a crappy O-line.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with the whole San Francisco thing. I think they would have been another tough challenge. But we absolutely, if we beat San Francisco, I think we would have smoked
I'm not saying we destroy San Francisco. Like again, I'm not downplaying them. They have an incredible defense. I didn't believe in their offense versus our defense, which is where I'm at.
Jimmy G against our defense.
It's not the offense. It's Jimmy G.
Yeah,
I think their defense would have gave us a problem, but at the same time, I also think our offense, especially in that game, is like our offense is tiers above so many teams.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that would have been Brady versus Jimmy Garoppolo in the playoffs. You know damn well Brady is not losing that football game.
No,
just the narratives that would have came from that, and the narratives that would have came if Tom Brady stayed retired and we actually traded for Jimmy G as his replacement when that was supposed to happen in New England. That would have been amazing.
I think we would have went and got Jimmy G too. I think that was the guy that we would have traded for.
I think so too.
I'm really concerned how that would have played out, though, because I don't know if I trust Jimmy G in any other offensive system other than an offense run by Kyle Shanahan, because Shanahan makes it so simple for Jimmy G. He just has to basically look at an open receiver and hit him. Like there's really not a lot of processing to go down for Jimmy G.
That's true, but at the same time, the coaching would have been, it's Todd Bowles. How great is that going to be? Doesn't matter. The wide receivers in Tampa right now are going to get open regardless.
Hey, the receivers are good, but it doesn't matter if you can't hit them. It doesn't matter if you don't have the ability to hit them.
They would have just gone up
the vision to hit them.
I think we still would have made the playoffs. I think our division is probably the worst in football.
One of the worst, yeah.
Yeah, one of the worst. So then it just comes down to who do we face in the playoffs. And I'm not saying we would go and win the Super Bowl. I don't think we would have, but we could make it out of the first round kind of thing.
I could
give
see
ourselves
that.
a chance.
I could see that. But then you're going to go up against a real football team, and Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have a Jimmy Garoppolo game.
Yeah, that's why I say give ourselves a chance. Like anything can happen. Maybe our defense stands on their head, but
I mean, on paper they are very similarly built teams where you have a nice receiver core, dominant run game, good offensive line, and a great defense. It's just like I said, the difference in scheme is glaring between the two.
Yeah.
And that's not like a knock on the Buccaneers. It's a good thing to run a more complicated scheme because it's going to be more effective. Like we saw the 49ers get absolutely shut down. Or I guess not shut down, but like they got their asses beat offensively at the very least. Their defense really had to step in the playoffs. So they
scored. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, against the Packers when they won, they scored 3 offensive points. Their defense scored the other points in the game, like the block punt to tie it in the fourth. It's like that's where I make the argument that we would have beat the 49ers, like, because you're coming into Tampa, which I get they went into Lambeau to beat them, but it's like you're coming into Tampa first off, and then behind their no offensive abilities, it's like you shut down Deebo Samuel. They didn't have any other weapons.
Yeah.
So those
I just
are our
don't
3
know,
retirements.
like, if people would have like actually came back if Brady didn't come back. Like, would Godwin still be here? I don't know. I don't think Julio would have came. I don't think Akeem Hicks would have came.
No,
definitely not. No, they're ring chasing.
I don't think half our team would have came back.
Well, we franchise tagged Godwin, so he was coming back regardless.
He could have held out for all I know. Like, if he,
I don't
think
people talk about holding out, but not a lot of people are willing to risk holding out because I think Le'Veon Bell showed us exactly like the worst case scenario if you try to hold out because he ended up on still that at the time he was considered to be the best running back in football, and it wasn't just like he was one of those guys where, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, this was before I was like full in depth, just from what I can remember. He was like that dude. Everyone was like, well, Le'Veon's going to be fine no matter where he goes. He can get money no matter, whoever wants him. But he ended up going to the Jets, who had a piss poor offense, and he took less money because that was the problem. He wanted the money. He wasn't worried about playing for another team. He just wanted money. So I think, and I mean, it is a running back. It'll be a little bit different in today's NFL, but that's a realistic thing that can happen to players, because if you have a guy, especially Godwin, who was it his ACL he tore?
Yeah.
Coming off a torn ACL, you don't have any leverage. You have no leverage coming off a torn ACL because they can just be like, well, you did good for us, but you're probably not going to play most of the season anyway. So what's it gonna matter if you're holding out? And then worst case, when he's healthy, they just ship him off somewhere, or there's just not a lot of leverage for Godwin in that situation. But
that's even what happened in the past with Peyton Manning. He came off the torn ACL, and the Colts didn't re-sign him. He was like, I wanted to be in Indianapolis, and they just didn't believe that he'd be the same player. Yeah. Like, he went on and won a Super Bowl, so he proved them wrong. But it's like
Peyton was a little bit worse.
Thing.
About a torn ACL, he broke his neck. That there was real concern that he could never step on a football field again. So it's a little bit different, but you're right. It's the same situation. Absolutely. I keep undermining you. I'm not trying to. I'm sorry.
I mean,
it's not intentional.
We're agreeing just with minute differences.
Yeah. I'm being nitpicky is the problem. That's my bad. But I do agree with Ashlie. Guys like Hicks and Jones and, all these little ring chasers that came in, they're not coming if Brady's not there. And these are guys that are going to make legitimate impacts on the team this year. They're going to be very impactful players. Hopefully Hicks balls the hell out for you guys. I really want to see him be productive again, because we haven't seen productive Hicks in a while because he cannot stay healthy.
Dominic last year. I don't think Dominic was that great last year. I think Vita Vea just carried the interior D-line.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of Vea. I love Vita Vea.
He's so good.
He's incredible.
You said Levante David, you think is the best player on our defense? I think it's Vita Vea. He's so good.
I think there's an argument both ways, personally.
Yeah, it's just he's such he can just eat double teams like it's nothing. I mean, are you really surprised? He literally is like 360 pounds. 360
pounds of pure just anger and aggression and perfection
hair.
at defensive tackle and hair.
And
Yeah,
hair.
and hair.
He's perfect. He's beautiful. Just
Yeah, we love Vita. I love Vita Vea. He's awesome. As a big dude myself, it's great to see big dudes doing work out there. And that's another reason why I want Hicks to succeed, because Hicks is a big dude too. And I think him being like, I don't know, probably like what, the third, fourth defensive tackle on this team right now, he's kind of a rotational. That's going to be good for him. Well, I don't know. They've got him listed as a starter here, but I don't know how long that's going to last.
Yeah, it's because we didn't re-sign Sue or JVP.
Right. I forgot about that.
He's the one who fits in there.
Yeah, but I don't know how long that's going to last, because I'm a big Logan Hall guy, which I think is a great transition. We can talk about this draft class, because I feel like this draft class isn't getting enough credit for what they accomplished. I don't know, Dominic, are you...
I thought our draft was a little bit lackluster. I'm not gonna lie. Like Logan Hall, I love that pick. When we traded back out of the first round, I thought it was a great move. Just not only for, obviously we're in win now mode, but it's gonna help us with our future too. And I didn't love anybody on the board, so I did like Devin Lloyd at that spot, but we don't need a linebacker.
Right.
So, I just, outside of Logan Hall and Cade Otten, I didn't really love any of our picks.
I liked Cade Otten a lot.
I do too.
Because it goes back to we didn't know what was going to happen with Gronk, and we didn't know that we were going to be able to get Kyle Rudolph. So to get a little bit of depth there in someone that might be able to slot in quicker than some rookies who are picked lower, that was good for me.
And when we picked 2 tight ends in the draft, that's when I knew Gronk was going to retire. I knew it. I was like, they know something.
See, the tight ends are great, and Logan Hall's great, but who I'm really excited for is going to be Rachaad White. I think he's a stud. I feel like a lot of people don't know who he is because he played for the Sun Belt, but he's so fun. If you sit there and watch his tape and just watch the way he moves, the way he sees the field, I think it's a home run pick. And some people hated it, some people loved it, but I think he's going to be a great 1-2 punch. I think he's going to be exactly what we hoped Ronald Jones would be, and more. Like, I feel like Rachaad White can block. I feel like he can pass protect. He has great hands out of the backfield. He's a one-cut kind of guy, get down the field, get the yards. He's not going to tippy-toe in the backfield. I think he's a plug-and-play starter. Well, not a starter, but he's going to see the field week 1. Whether it be on a third down or to come in to give Lenny a breath, I think he can really develop into that role. He's my favorite out of the draft class for me.
I did forget about him, I'm not going to lie. My only question is like, yeah, he's a one-cut guy. I've seen a lot of fantasy guys who are saying Rachaad White could be a sleeper and stuff because he's a good pass catcher. And Leonard Fournette, we kept him over Rojo because he's a good pass catcher. I'm just like, who are we going to use in certain roles? It almost makes me question the scheme fit of the two together, if that makes sense.
Listen, if you go back and look at New England, Brady had like 4 or 5, 6 of those type of running backs out of the backfield. There's nothing wrong with having multiple of them when you have Tom Brady, because like Ashlie said, if Lenny needs a breath, you got the guy who can do the exact same thing out of the backfield. He's very much the type of guy who can slip into the flat and whatnot, go through the offensive line, that type of thing. I'm butchering my words completely, but you get what I mean. He's a sneaky guy out of the backfield that's going to get into the flat. Brady can dump it off to him and he can run with it, or he can run a couple routes here and there. It's not like he has some big diverse route tree, but he can do a little bit of work. And I think the thing that impresses me most about White, why I like him so much, is because he stands straight up as a ball carrier, which is like the worst thing you can do, but he makes it work. Like, guys just fall off of him, which is unheard of. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's got like some sort of otherworldly core strength or something, but he's the opposite of leverage wins. He's like an enigma, so to speak, or an exception to every rule that every running back is taught. It's absolutely incredible. But I like Rachaad White a lot too, and I'm not a big fantasy guy, but I did just take him in one of my fantasy drafts because I do think he can be slightly productive or not slightly, but solidly productive for Tampa Bay this year. I'm very excited to see him. Now, you guys kind of skipped over.
To your point too. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, I was I was going to say, to your point, when you brought up how, in New England, Brady had a bunch of those kind of, catching guys. We did re-sign Giovanni Bernard as well, and that's like the only reason we brought him there as a veteran who could catch as the guy in the backfield.
Yeah, and you can run well, I'm not going to say 3, but you can run at least 2 running backs out of the backfield on any given play and let them both go out on routes. It's not like you're dealing with a quarterback who gets locked onto one read. If anybody gets open, Brady's going to hit them. So having multiple running backs that are capable of doing that is never a bad thing. But I was going to ask, are we not Luke Goedeke fans? Do we not like Goedeke? Because you guys all kind of skipped over him.
Not year 1 as a starter, no.
Fair enough.
I think. I mean, if there's someone who's gonna find like a stud lineman out of nowhere, it's gonna be Jason Light. But I guess we just really haven't seen enough, or at least me personally, to where I can be like, this was a good pick. I think after the first and second preseason game, when you're getting all those reps against someone who's not your teammate, it's really gonna open some eyes as to whether yes, he's a plug and play guy who can take in that left guard role, or no, he needs some years to develop. So I guess it's just like haven't seen enough. Like you can watch college tape all day long, but the transition to the NFL is always gonna be you either have it right away or you don't.
Fair enough, and there's the added transition point of him going from tackle to guard at the NFL level, so that is a bit iffy. But I think I have 2 issues with Goedeke, and granted they are kind of big issues, but like technically he's perfect. Like he's a straight up technician. I love what I've seen out of him in terms of that. But like his feet need a little bit of work. He tends to just kind of try to put them down and doesn't do a lot of movement with them, which is bad, especially if you're going to be moving to guard. And I think he needs to hit the weight room a little bit. He needs to get a little bit stronger. So, I mean, if he can hit the weight room, put on that strength, and somebody can work with him on his footwork, he can be a legitimate starting caliber guard for a while. I really like Goedeke. I loved what I saw to him. Like I said, his handwork and his ability as a technician were perfect. His feet in like short area are fine, but once it comes down to sitting there in pass pro long term or trying to, I guess he'll be pulling as a guard. It's a bit different, but he is a good athlete, so I'm sure he'll be able to figure that out. It's just a matter of working on your footwork and hitting the gym, which, like Dominic said, I don't think it'll be a super impact year 1, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he picks up on that quicker than I'm expecting. But I think year 2, year 3, I mean, yeah, you obviously hope, but like year 2, year 3, I think he can be an absolute stud on the offensive line. I like Goedeke a lot.
I hope he picks it up quickly, just because our offensive line in general is a little thin right now. So with him doing the switch from college, having 2 positions that you might be able to plug and play in is going to be a pretty big deal for us.
Right.
So
yeah, it would be huge if he picked it up quickly, but it's a rookie switching positions in the NFL that has some issues. I guess we'll find out sooner rather than later, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's always hit or miss with the draft class too. So
right,
but we're all in PTSD.
God,
2016 was so bad.
Listen, I'm a youngin'. I forget shit sometimes. Was that the Winston year, or was he way earlier
that
than that?
was like the Caleb Benenoch or Vernon Hargraves.
Oh no, yeah. Oh, the Bears just brought Hargraves in for a workout. That's fun.
Oh no!
I'm so sorry.
What year?
I'm sorry.
Listen, I feel like a dumbass. What year was Winston? Like 2014?
It was 2015.
2015. Fuck. God.
Yeah, 15.
Listen, I suck with draft years. If it hasn't been the last 5 years, I have no idea. That's like the one weakness or like my biggest weakness, so to speak, is a football mind. I suck at remembering when people were drafted.
If it makes you any better, I only know that because he's famous.
Well, I mean, he'd be like a 5th corner in Chicago if he even got signed. So I don't think he will. They just signed some linebacker, and they brought in like 8 guys for a workout, and the only one that left with the deal was the linebackers. So I don't think he's going to get signed, fortunately. Is he really that bad? I don't remember watching much of him.
Yeah. He literally got cut.
Yeah, he's not good.
Oh boy.
He got cut mid-season and went to the Texans, who had like the 3rd worst defense that year or something like that.
I do remember that.
And was legitimately still not good. Like he still was like it was still horrible, and he got cut literally because I think this was Bruce Arians' first year, I think, and they flat out said, like, we benched him in the last game because he wasn't putting in any effort. Like, he literally just let somebody go by him.
Well, that's why he didn't get picked up by Chicago. Then that's all their coaching staff has been preaching his effort.
Let me put it to you this way: he was inactive for the Super Bowl, or for the Super Bowl. Like he was riding the bench. He's the player that got the flag running on the field.
You're okay. Okay, now it's all coming together. Okay,
like you were benched in the Super Bowl and you still managed to hurt your team. Like
right. Okay. Yeah. Now that clears up everything. Honestly, just that it clears up everything. But moving back to the Bucs draft class, I really liked Cade Otten. I think the big thing with him is he doesn't have like superstar traits, but he's solid and he's smart. So he's going to be the type of guy we were talking about earlier where Gronk and Brady could just give each other a look and it would determine what Gronk needed to do on a given play. Cade Otten's the type of tight end that can pick up on that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, he's not going to have the like immediate relationship with Brady or anything like Gronk did that they built over years, but he's one of those guys that Brady can be like that. He knows exactly what he needs to do. I don't know how much of an impact he's going to be day one, obviously, with Kyle Rudolph and Cam Braid ahead of him, but if he sees PT, I can definitely see him doing a little bit of work. And then they took a punter, which I thought was great because you need a good punter. They let who was it? Bradley Pinion, was that their punter last year?
I don't understand why we got rid of him.
Oh
yeah,
Camarda's like
page. Yeah,
Camarda seems to be like a generational punter talent, so maybe that's why.
The problem with Pinion was that he was regressing in his punts, like punt yardage, and then he kicked 2 kickoffs out of bounds in the playoff game.
Yeah,
like
so
2 kickoffs. Like the only job you have is to keep it in bounds, and he couldn't. He was just awful.
Yeah, that's grounds to cut a punter right there. If they do that twice in the same game.
He must have regressed hard last season because week 1 he was a special teams player of the week.
Yeah, I think he lost like 4 or 5 yards per punt off of his average throughout the year. It was really bad.
Wow. Okay.
Yikes. Look at you knowing the punter statistics. I don't think I've ever met somebody that knows punter stats off the top of their head. That's great.
I've never met anyone who knows more about fullbacks than you, so.
What can I say? Listen, that's my only gripe with the Bucs. They don't have a fullback. Even though who's the tight end they're trying to move to fullback? Dominic, you've been all over me on that. Keith?
It's Keith.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I see it.
I looked it up because obviously as soon as I found out I was going to be on here, I was like, ooh, I got to look up all like our entire roster. I got to figure it out, everything. And I looked up and I was like, okay, he's going to ask about fullbacks. Who's our fullback? And if Bruce Arians was still the coach, we would not have a fullback, and we would not have drafted that guy in the 6th round. We wouldn't have, because literally, I think you can quote. I can't remember which coach it was. Somebody asked Bruce Arians about a fullback, and he gave him like a disgusted look, like legitimately disgusted, which makes me think that next time you put a coach's rank out, you're going to include him even though he's not a coach anymore and just put him at the bottom.
There's a lot of coaches that have that mentality. Belichick just got rid of his fullback. He's switching to putting Jonnu Smith as an H-back, which is like, that tight end fullback hybrid. Yeah. There's a lot of coaches that don't believe it. Zach Taylor, he runs a Shanahan-inspired offense and doesn't use a fullback. That's like sacrilegious. It's absolutely insane.
As a coach.
Yeah.
Okay, but you don't need a fullback when you have Vita Vea, who played running back in high school.
I mean,
have you seen Vita Vea running back highlights? Okay, imagine him at like the 1 yard line, or like you need a tough 4th and 2.
Listen, I'm a Bears fan. You don't have to convince me about putting fat guys on the 1 yard line. I know the vibe.
I have to interject here. Because I was literally when you told me that I was going to be on this, I told you, is there any questions that I can ask you?
Okay.
And the one that came to my mind was who is the like heaviest person to ever catch a touchdown?
Isn't it Vita Vea at this point?
It is Vita Vea.
Yeah.
It was Vita Vea?
It was 2019, his Jameis's last year. One of his touchdowns was a 1 yard play. They just threw Vita Vea in at fullback because he's a monster. And at 365 pounds, he became the heaviest person to ever catch a touchdown because he just rolled out.
Do you know who the heaviest person to ever throw a touchdown pass is, Dominic?
Oh, no, I don't. Who is
it? It's Dontari Poe. Back when he was with the Chiefs.
Poe did throw a touchdown.
It was like a crazy jump pass.
Yeah,
horrid mechanics, by the way. It was one of the ugliest throws I've ever seen. He looked like he was trying to throw a tomahawk chop. But yeah, heaviest player to ever throw a touchdown is Dontari Poe.
That's kind of what Derrick Henry did 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, literally, if you put the two things side by side, they look eerily similar. Their throwing motions were eerily similar. But back to Kieft, because I can definitely see the vision with putting him at fullback. He's very much like a straight line, straight up blocking tight end. He's got solid hands, but he's nothing crazy. I'd have to watch a little bit more film. I don't know if there's anything on him like after the catch or running ability, but like I don't know. Tom Brady's a guy who likes fullbacks. Like back when he was with New England, they always had great fullbacks, like James Devlin, for example, who was one of the best fullbacks of the 2010s. So maybe they are experimenting with it, or maybe Kieft is going to play more of an H-back role or something. But listen, if Kieft plays fullback this year, I'm going to be a Kieft stan, because that's a fantastic name. Just to play fullback, that would be great. Because fullbacks always got to have cool names. Every fullback has to have a cool name. It's a rule.
Juszczyk is just perfect.
Juszczyk is awesome.
I still can't figure out how to spell it.
My favorite is he played for Northern Illinois last year, and I've actually had him on the podcast. His name was Clint Ratkovich, and that's my favorite fullback name ever. He's awesome.
You mentioned, I was watching your Ravens one earlier, and you mentioned Northern Illinois. You watched them a lot. So.
Yeah, I'm not a big college football fan, but Ratkovich came onto my radar, and I started watching a lot of their games purely because of him. And he had a couple walk-off touchdowns. Like there was one game where he had last play of the game, it was like 80-yard touchdown at fullback. It was nuts. It was beautiful. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. But back to the Buccaneers, because I could sit and talk about fullbacks for the next hour, and I don't want to waste y'all's time.
I mean, I'm enjoying it.
Dominic, I'll have to have you back on one day. Me and you can just talk about fullbacks.
I literally know like 0 to nothing about them, and I'll do it anyway. I don't care.
I'll preach the gospel to you for an hour. We'll do. I
will do so much research to act like I know what I'm talking about.
Fair enough. But
that hurts. You don't want the rest of us back. It's fine.
You guys listen. I'm just saying. Dominic said he wanted to keep talking about it. Daniel, if you want to come on and talk about fullbacks for an hour, you are more than welcome to.
Listen, we could talk about punter averages for an hour.
See, punters, that's beyond my knowledge. I don't know a damn thing about punters. But
fullbacks for that too. Put me on any podcast. I'll do it.
Fair enough.
You could tell me. Oh, look up some long snappers. I'll do it. Long snapper, anything. I'll do the research.
Long snappers is crazy. Don't mind me trying to plug my computer in.
I need to improve my stock. Let's branch out in sports. I can talk about soccer all day if you want. Premier League back.
See, I don't know a damn thing about soccer either. Me and Daniel have talked about that in DMs. I don't know a damn thing.
There you go. Broaden your audience.
I mean, we kind of brought up soccer earlier because that's how we all knew Brady was coming back, right? Who was he was talking to? Ronaldo. I actually know him. Look at me. I know a soccer player. I know him.
Not like he's like.
I know Ronaldo.
Top 2 player in the world.
I know David Beckham because we have the same first name.
All right, that's good.
Shit, there's another one.
You probably know Lionel Messi.
That's the one. Messi. Messi was the other one. Yeah, because Kanye talks about him in a song. That's how I know about him.
That's how you know him.
Yes, he got referenced in a Kanye song.
One of the best ever. It's because Kanye.
Nope. He said they're playing soccer in my backyard. I think I see Messi. No, I know about David Beckham because we share a name. We have the same first name.
Bend it like Beckham. That was the thing.
Yeah. I have heard that before. And I'm not going to lie. For a little while, I thought they were talking about Odell. So that's how much I listen. I can talk about football for hours. I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to football or soccer. Nothing. I got nothing in here. Because when I was little, soccer involved a bunch of running, and I've always been heavy, and I hate running, and I'm asthmatic. So that was just never in the equation for me.
I bet you hate basketball as well.
No, I like basketball. Basketball's fun. But like soccer's too much.
I just love sports.
That's
Don't
fair.
get me started
Honestly,
on
so do I.
sports.
That's fair.
So,
I've gotten into like player props betting this year, so
I don't.
Like,
we don't have to go down the rabbit hole of betting.
I'm not even legally old enough to bet in my
no,
state.
you can. I'm your age.
That's-
You do realize that?
Yeah, but the states have different
That's true.
Am I
like different
old?
restrictions.
Sports betting also isn't legal in the entirety of the
Yeah.
United States.
Like
so.
I live in Maryland. I think you got to be 21 to gamble on sports here or something
Well,
like that.
it's 21 for me too, but Prize Picks, the app, for some reason found a loophole, and you can be 18, and that's the only thing I use.
This man just admitted to a crime.
puts in
No,
parents'
like,
emails.
it's not crime. Like,
Yeah, listen, I share a name with my
21 is
dad.
the
Like we,
consensus age.
Damn.
yeah, me and my
21
dad.
is like the consensus age for, I believe, the entirety of the U.S., but you're allowed to for Prize Picks if you're 18.
Gotcha. See, I don't know anything
Y'all
about
making me
gambling
feel
either.
really old, by the way. Like I feel really old right now, and I'm not liking it.
All right, let's.
Hey, I'm 24, so we're not that far.
Oh no!
Yeah. You were 96. I was 98. I know. You said you were 96. I was 98. So.
Oh God, I was 03.
I was 03 gang.
When's your birthday, Dom?
Oh,
March. Okay, I'm a little bit older than you then. I'm in February.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, listen. The amount. We'll get back to the Buccaneers in a second. Just as a side rant, okay? Everyone I speak to assumes I'm either somewhere between 26 and 35. That's what everyone thinks. Like,
I would have guessed the lower range of that, to be
Yeah.
honest. And then,
Yeah,
I would have guessed like mid-20s, probably.
and then you
Yeah,
posted
that's
a
the
video
consensus.
saying you were 19, and you were like, "Yeah,"
And
it's
they
in my
still
bio.
don't
And I
believe
was
me.
like, I still never knew.
they still don't believe me. I had people asking for me to post videos of my driver's license. Like, they don't believe me. If I
Don't
shaved
do
this,
that.
I'm not. Trust me, that is not something that I was considering doing. But like, if I shaved this, I'd look like I'm 16. Like I have a baby face. I really do. It's just the beard hides it, and I like people to take me seriously, so I keep the beard. Because if I was on there with a baby face,
Now, see,
they look
mine
at
is
me-
very patchy, so I literally right before this got rid of it.
fair enough. All right,
I'm
well,
not even allowed to have one.
they don't let you have one. You can't even have
Not
like
in
a
the
little bit of
military.
stubble going on.
No, I can have a mustache, and that's it.
That's unfortunate.
I have to shave every morning.
Damn.
But I'm on leave right now, so I'm not shaving.
Fair enough. All right, so back to this draft class. There's like two guys we didn't talk about. Zion McCollum's a guy I like a lot. He's really lengthy, had a really, really good combine. He can read quarterbacks well, super athlete. And obviously with the cornerback situation Tampa Bay had last year with the laundry list of injuries, it doesn't hurt to have more depth at corner. So I was a fan of that pick.
We always draft cornerbacks. We've had a problem. Our secondary has been the problem in our defense for the past couple of years.
It's been a while. I was actually hoping for who was the cornerback out of Michigan? And that went in I think he went to the Bengals.
Oh, Hill? Dax Hill?
Yes, Daxton Hill.
I think
really,
he was listed
that's
as
who
a
I
corner.
wanted to pick because I was like, he can play any position in the secondary. If we have injury problems again, he can fill in anywhere.
God, Dax Hill would have been great for the Bucs.
There's one corner who's been not great, and my hottest take of the year is that if this corner doesn't get back to his ways during the Super Bowl run, that McCollum could push him for his spot. And I will die on that hill. Like if this, I don't want to name names, but like
name him.
Yeah, name him. It's not like he's gonna see it.
This is true. Personally, and this is just my hottest take. I feel like if Sean Murphy Bunting, and I know he was injured last year, but if he comes back and plays as bad as he did pre-injury and post-injury, he won't start. He shouldn't start.
Well, he's not even listed as the starter at the moment.
Yeah, it's Dean and Carlton Davis right now.
Really bad. I'd rather see Winfield or Edwards or Keanu Neal or even Logan Ryan fill in that third spot at this point. It's that bad.
With you bringing that up though.
Go ahead.
With you bringing that up though, Logan Ryan and Keanu Neal were such big pickups for us that are underrated because like I said, our secondary is always the problem with the Bucs. Like the last 2 years, our Super Bowl run, we had the best run stopping defense in the league, but our secondary was like 15th, 16th. Like you can't give up that many yards in the air if you're gonna force them to pass, and then they're good at passing against you. That's not a good combination. So I think Keanu Neal and Logan Ryan were fantastic pickups, and I think Edwards has made a huge jump the past 2 years to complement. Like Carlton Davis is the best corner we have, but to then bring up Edwards, who can slot in with like Jamal Dean and a Winfield Jr. I think that's a good combo finally.
I think Jamal Dean is the best. If you want to talk about potential, I think Jamal Dean has the potential to be even better than Carlton is. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the physicality. The only thing that I think that Carlton has over Dean at this point is just confidence and his ability to hawk, like in the air, track the ball. But Bunting doesn't do any of those things. He's literally 10 yards off the line. He's not strong. He gets bullied every time he tries to make a tackle. And yeah, no, I can't do it. It's just so
Sean Murphy Bunting was viewed as our best corner 2 years ago. And that's why we had in 2019, everybody tried to call our defense like average. No, it was not. Yes, we had a great run defense. We were dead last in yards allowed.
It was a historically bad team. Like
it was a
I'm pretty sure it was like one of the worst in NFL history. It was really bad.
I mean, in 2019 we went 7-9, so it wasn't that bad.
I think it was like points per game.
No, but that's
because
we had a great rushing defense that made it look semi-competent.
Yeah, but I mean, when you start throwing like historically bad numbers up there, like you got to take the whole picture.
Historically bad for like yards allowed per game.
Because nobody wanted to run on us, so they threw on us. We knew they were going to throw on us, and we still couldn't stop it.
Yeah, we couldn't do anything.
Bad times.
Thank God. Thank God we drafted Winfield, because I truly believe he's a top 10 safety. Like he's just on the border there, and that dude saved our defense, and not even just our like secondary. I think he saved our defense.
Wasn't he the one that blew the play in the game against the Rams?
No, that's that. Wasn't that George?
No, it was Antoine Winfield. It was Antoine.
Yeah, because he was. That was the thing. He was slower and shorter than Cup.
I do not blame him for that, because
no, I don't either. I just wanted to make fun of Winfield.
The play call
we
for that
blitzed.
play was a zero blitz.
Yeah.
So
I think it was more so it wasn't executed at all, because if you go back and watch it, literally nobody moved. Like nobody moved. Like they just kind of stood there for like a good couple seconds and was like, "Oh, the ball was snapped," and then no one moved, and then it was like Cooper Kupp's already 15 yards ahead of you. It was awful, to be quite honest.
But, I just don't understand. I just don't understand why. Like, sure, you could drop a zero blitz. You still have one safety high. Like, why are you gonna let the one player that you can't let past you? Like,
right.
If you tackle him in bounds, like even if he catches at midfield at the 40, it's like that's even a harder field goal, and their kicker's already missed once in that game. Like. Mm-hmm. Don't bring it down at the 30-25 and make it easy to win the game. Like it's so frustrating. Like honestly, just play the Tampa 2, cover the sideline, and then be done. I really didn't understand a blitz and with 30 seconds left in the game.
It's Todd Bowles. That's his whole defensive identity is throwing the blitz. I don't love the play call, but at some point it was our identity. So I didn't hate it, but also clearly I didn't love it.
I can respect being aggressive on that play, but I don't know. I'm more of a fan of being conservative in those type of situations. Like obviously there's a right time to be conservative, a right time to be aggressive, and when you're in that situation, like Daniel said, just cover the field, just cover the sideline. Don't let them get deep on you. Like dropping them back behind the line of scrimmage would be nice, but you've got bigger fish to fry at that point. This is the last drive of the game. You just tied it up after being down, what was it, 24 points? Just play conservative. Don't try to get cute.
Head, though, because as you mentioned before, we did like sack him, and he almost fumbled the ball the previous play.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those plays that, if we go and sack him, it's like, wow, what are the best? Why would you call a blitz there? Like, that's the greatest play call that there could have been.
It's like a hindsight is 2020 kind of thing.
Yeah.
So since it didn't work, it's like, why wouldn't you cover the field? It's like, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, it's a ballsy move and I respect it. But me personally, I feel like you should have played a little more conservative there.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I guess if you want to play devil's advocate, in the very same playoffs, the Bills-Chiefs, 13 seconds left, all they did was cover the field, and they went down and kicked the field goal with 13 seconds. So.
Yeah.
No, that's because Travis Kelce knew where to go. He literally told Mahomes before the play, if they line up in the same spot,
Cooper Kupp can do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like same situation with the two different play calls, and it both didn't work out. So
it's as close as you're gonna get. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree completely. Because I get what you're saying, Dominic, but Cooper Kupp's that dude. He's doing the exact same thing. We've all heard him sit and talk about the fire. Shit, I can't even remember the name of it.
The fire shot, yeah.
The fire zone blitz or whatever the hell it was, where he described it to a T perfectly and blew everybody's minds.
And Dan Orlovsky had to break it down on ESPN for everybody who didn't.
When you got Dan Orlovsky breaking something down for you, you're in a bad situation. I hate Dan Orlovsky. I really do. I hate Dan Orlovsky. I'm not a fan of him either. We're talking about the quarterback that led the 0-17 Lions and ran out of the back of the end zone.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. I'm like, he ran out of the back of the end zone.
Dan, check yourself before you come talk about my quarterback, because this is the same guy saying,
what has Dan Orlovsky really done? If you think about his career, accolades, what do you have to stand on other than you played in the NFL?
Right.
Literally, I can get the back of the end zone. The only person dumb enough to do that is your only accolade.
And I mean, I don't want to because I really don't like him either. He clearly understands the game. If you play in the NFL, you're good.
Yeah.
I just don't think it transferred to being an analyst. I think
not at all.
It's hard. I think it's harder for players to all of a sudden.
Yeah, because when you're a player,
everything.
When you're a player, you just got to do it. You don't got to sit and break it down for everybody bit by bit and explain why this guy's good at it and this guy isn't. When you're a player, you can just be like, I do this, I do it good, and you're done. And that's obviously grossly simplifying what NFL players have to do. But I feel like it's a lot easier to execute something than explain it when you're in that type of situation. I agree completely. But Orlovsky, I mean, and granted, he does work in the sports industry in the year 2022, so some of the shit he's saying is just to get clicks and just to get traction. But Orlovsky, just some of the shit he says, man. We're talking about the same guy that said Darnell Mooney is at best a wide receiver 3. He's just.
Oh, that hit personal for you.
Oh, it did. It did.
I think a lot of things hit personal for you. Chicago's not doing too hot.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I can take a lot of the criticism, but when you're just saying shit to say it like that, that's bad. If he would have been well, Chicago's receiver core is bad, but Mooney has upside. Yeah, okay, sure. But this receiver core is awful. Mooney is at best a wide receiver 3. Shut the fuck up, Dan. Nobody asked you. Nobody cares what you have to say. But I guess back to the Bucs, we pretty much ran through the draft class. We skipped over the 7th round pick, Andre Anthony, who has a little bit of upside. He just tore his ACL his senior year, or his last year. I don't know if it was his senior year. So we don't know what he's going to be, but he looked good at his pro day and he's got good athletic traits. So that's fun. Sorry, go ahead.
I know nothing about him. I'm going to be honest. I know absolutely nothing about Andre Anthony.
I don't either. He was the only guy that was in this draft class that I literally knew nothing about. So before I hopped on here, I was like, let me look at his draft profile. And I just plucked the first 3 bullet points to sound smart.
I think our last 3, could be wrong. Don't quote me on this. I think our last 3 7th round picks haven't made the roster or something like that. So
they usually
Grant
don't.
Stewart did last year.
What'd you say?
Grant Stewart did last year.
There we go. I'm wrong. Yeah. I just remember 2019, I don't think it did, and then 2020 they definitely didn't. Whoever the 7th round pick was.
Yeah.
No, the 2020 7th round pick's actually playing for the Jaguars now. He played last night. And then Grant Stewart played his special teams last year, and then this year we don't know yet.
It's the receiver, right? Or am I thinking of somebody different? Because there was a receiver that used to be on the Bucs that played last night. Was he on
Really?
the Raiders? He might have been on the Raiders. Hold
Maybe
on.
you're right. I don't know.
I think. Hold on. This
I
is
know they
killing
played
me.
last.
Hold on.
He's got to look it up now, folks.
I gotta look this up because
What?
I'm almost positive he is.
With that being
I'm
said,
trying
though,
to think because I was looking at my
Yeah, it's Tyrone Johnson played for the Bucs, right?
Tyrone Johnson did. That's the guy who I was looking at for so long.
Yeah, he's on the
Yeah.
Raiders.
I knew he was on the Raiders. He led the game in receiving yards for the Raiders. I didn't know he was on the Bucs. I didn't realize that.
I think he was. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody different.
We currently have a receiver. His name is Tyler Johnson.
That's who I'm thinking of. Yeah, no, Tyrone
Okay.
Johnson did not play for the Bucs. I was thinking of Tyler Johnson. You're right. Yeah.
Tyler Johnson came in huge in
Yeah.
the playoff game against the Saints.
Yeah, Tyler Johnson looks nice. I
Tyron
like Tyler
Johnson, his first season, I have a TikTok video up still. I thought he was going to be our breakout player last year because his hands were just absolutely like magnetic. And then he went in this year and like I think it was like the last few games of the season when we had no wide receivers left. He went in and he just dropped everything. It was weird.
Yeah, we brought
I
up
don't know,
we brought up what's his name, Cyril Grayson.
Grayson.
Yeah.
The
He
guy
was an
who
LSU track star.
Yeah, he caught the game winner against the Jets.
Cyril Grayson is
I remember watching
my
that play
sleeper
live.
wide
That was
receiver for
fun.
this season. I love that dude.
I mean,
That
that
was a
play
really
against the
frustrating
Bucs
game
was
for me.
huge. I didn't get to watch the whole thing. I caught the tail end of it and basically just saw that last touchdown drive.
I was
Against the
in
Jets,
Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Japan at the time on a deployment, and I had the stream going, and everyone around me was like, "You're the Bucs are really losing to the Jets." I was like, "You have to rub it in, bud."
Dude, Zach Wilson played phenomenal that game. It was
I'm glad he
weird.
still lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
But-
awful.
He
With
played
that
great,
being
and
said,
they actually ran the ball against us, which was really weird.
We have a ton of receivers, and we're going to be cutting a bunch.
Yeah.
And I'm very scared because I think players like Scotty Miller are on the chopping block, and I really like Scotty Miller.
I love Scotty Miller.
I wouldn't
hope
think
he's not-
Scotty's on the chopping block. I'd say he's like wide receiver 5 right now. I think he
I
can
think
keep 5
Scotty
receivers.
stayed because he can play special teams. He was
Yeah.
really good last season special teams.
Yeah, if we're looking at guys that are on the chopping block, I think we're talking like Tyler Johnson, Cyril Grayson, guys like that. I think Scotty would be
I
more
think
safe
Tyler
than them.
Johnson could be gone. He played
I
really
don't-
bad.
I don't know. I think they have a hard choice to make because
What
True.
about I think his name is it Tanner Hudson? I think is he
Hudson?
I
still?
think he's been gone.
He has
I don't
been.
even know who
Okay,
you're
don't-
talking
that's my
about.
mistake then.
yeah. We
Yeah,
do
there-
have insane depth at receiver.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Evans,
We have-
Godwin, Gage,
We have, especially
Julio
with Julio
Jones.
now,
Yeah.
insane depth.
We
That's
still have
such-
Perryman.
That's such a crazy thing to think about, though. Julio Jones is on the same team as Tom Brady.
I actually
Yeah,
didn't
and
like that move.
and the division rival of the team that he's going to make the Hall of Fame for.
And I don't
Like,
care what
that's-
anyone says. Julio's not washed. He
No,
still has
he's not.
No,
some left in the tank. He's going to be good for Tampa Bay.
He's literally the same as Antonio Brown was for us last year, just minus the crazy off the field problems.
Yeah.
But I don't know why we needed to sign him when we have apparently Chris Godwin's going to come back a lot earlier than expected. Some people were even
You still
rumoring,
need somebody to fill in for
he's-
those couple games.
He's practicing.
But we have such insane
He did
depth.
full pads practicing yesterday.
Listen,
Godwin.
You can have all the depth you want. If Julio Jones is staring you in the face and willing to come play for you, you're going to go get Julio. At the end of the day,
we
you
have
have
other
matchup
holes to fill.
nightmares.
yeah.
But we have matchup nightmares now. Are you going to double Evans? Are you going to double Julio? Are you going to single both of them?
Why are we paying? Why did we give Russell Gage a 3-year, $30 million contract to now be the wide receiver 4 when we now no longer have a center? That's my problem with the Julio deal.
Well,
we got Julio before Jensen got hurt.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that.
They're taking the Godwin thing very, very, very slow.
Mhm.
From what I was told personally is he's participating in practice, but he's not going to be doing the full-fledged practice that every other wide receiver is doing, and he may not even play the first 2 games. Because even though he could come back early, is it worth him coming back at 80% and getting injured again? Or having someone like Julio Jones fill in where you don't have a talent drop-off, and then Godwin comes back and you can put Julio Jones anywhere on the field, and he's going to command attention.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Godwin too is supposed to be our like long-term receiver. It was always Evans, Godwin as the 1-2. Evans is going to go first, clearly. So then it comes down to Godwin will be the number 1.
And listen,
well, I don't think Evans is ever going to leave Tampa. I think he's going to retire. He's old. So it'll come down to Godwin becomes the 1, and then now you have, this plethora of other players that they're hoping develop.
And on top of that, it's such a heavy passing league, especially when your quarterback's Tom Brady. It doesn't hurt to have 4 guys that you can trot out on the field at the same time. Like, yeah, Gage, maybe he's a little bit overpaid for the role he's going to play, but that opens up a whole new realm of possibilities once Godwin's back. Maybe they go for a lot more 4 wide. And, I guess 5 wide, technically, you can throw a tight end out there too. Like, there's a lot of potential when you have 4, I'm not going to say serviceable, that's the wrong word, starting caliber receivers. When you have that going on, there's a lot of different things you can do. And I think especially with, again, Tom Brady at quarterback, you can get really crafty, you can get really funky and try out a bunch of different stuff, and it's going to end up paying off in the long run. Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, Julio's a 1-year thing. So once Julio's gone, you got Gage for how long did you say the contract was? 3 years? You got 2 more years out of him after that. So even if it's not the biggest impact this year, long term, you've got a solid wide receiver 3.
I think Julio also is going to be a player. I think Julio is going to be a big player to teach the other receivers too. Like now you have because he was at one point considered the best, if not top 3 receivers in the league. So you bring in someone who
he's a top 10 wide receiver of all time.
So you bring in someone to teach the young guys along with a veteran like Evans and them. Like I feel like our receivers are in pretty good hands.
Yeah, let Julio teach them everything except for how to score touchdowns, and let Mike do the rest. Perfect setup.
Speaking of, I know this is off topic, not on the Bucs. You know who is the wide receiver coach for the Dolphins?
Isn't it? It's one of the slots. Is it Welker?
Wes Welker.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was one of Tom Brady's white boys. I knew it was one of them.
One of the many white boys.
One of the plethora of white boys. Yeah. But yeah, I like what the Bucs have going on at receiver a lot. Brady's gonna have a ton of fun with this group. It's really deep. Like Daniel said, they're gonna have to make some tough cuts, but it's better to be in that situation than to not have enough. Like honestly, if one of these guys is gonna get cut, I would take him in Chicago. I got to work Chicago in every opportunity I can. Yeah. Our receiver core is so bad right now. Like, I'll put it this way.
Equanimous St. Brown.
I was just getting ready to say, there are Bears fans getting hype over Equanimous St. Brown on Twitter during training camp right now.
I remember him throughout the draft. I was just like, there's nothing that's great about this guy.
He's big. That's it. He's big.
So is his name.
Yeah. But yeah, I really can't say anything negative about this receiver room. I like Scotty Miller a lot. I'm a sucker for a fun little white boy playing wide receiver because you don't see it very often. He breaks the mold. Exactly.
When you can actually sit there, even if you don't win, and actually challenge Tyreek Hill to a race, you are fast. And that dude is fast.
Yeah. It's rare to see a white boy with that kind of capability. He's like the anti-Belichick white boy. He doesn't have the technical ability. I mean, yeah, he doesn't have the technical ability as a route runner or anything like that, but boy, is he fast. So it's always really good to have a deep threat like that, which is another reason why I don't think Scotty Miller will be somebody that gets cut, just because, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have anybody else that's quick like that can really take the top off the defense.
Throw a Grayson.
Fair. But like, even then, there's a gap. Like Grayson's good, but Scotty Miller he's a lot quicker. Yep. So
we got a lot of big pass catchers.
Yeah. I guess we already talked. I was going to go through and start naming off positions because that's kind of how we do the bulk of these, even though we're an hour and a half in, is running through the team. But I guess we already went through quarterback, running back, receiver, and tight end. Offensive line, there's really not too much to say other than Jensen being hurt is iffy, or not iffy, a detriment. It's really bad.
No, yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. Getting Shaq Mason was huge to replace Marpet, though.
6th.
Yeah, I still don't know what Bill was cooking when he thought that one up. But, listen, I'm not trying to jinx y'all, But just because it's Belichick being Belichick, it would not shock me if he looked like a completely different guard next year. I just
mean, look at
that out there.
Well, name one defensive player who's come out of Green Bay, New England, who's been like the same guy outside of maybe like Ty Law.
Right. It's a very, very rare occurrence.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Belichick doesn't move on from a guy until he's gotten everything he can get out of him or until he's pissed him off. Like with Jamie Collins when he wanted more money and he said, fuck you, and traded him to the 0-14 Browns for a 5th round pick.
Yeah.
Or not 0-14, whatever the record would have been at midseason. Yeah. Like that's my only concern with the Shaq. Jesus Christ, Shaq Mason. I just forgot his name for a second. Is just that Belichick isn't going to move on from a guy like that until he's gotten what he can out of him. And I don't know, maybe he's just that confident in Cole Strange that he's like, we don't need him anymore. We got the next or the second coming, which I've already gone on record to say Cole Strange is either going to be a perennial All-Pro or one of the biggest draft busts in NFL history. There will be no in between. But yeah, if Shaq, Jesus Christ, I almost did it again. I keep wanting to call him Shaq Lawson. If Shaq Mason is still the guard he was in New England, that's a hell of a trade for you guys. And if Godicke can step up, that would be great at guard. I don't know too much. They've got a guy named Stinney listed as the starter right now. I'm not too familiar with.
Aaron Stinney.
Yeah, Aaron Stinney. He's a big fan favorite, but I'm also not high on Stinney.
Gotcha. It's not that I'm not high on him. I'm just not familiar with him.
He wasn't like the playoff run for the Super Bowl. Yeah, I think it was like the Super Bowl.
He wasn't a starter for the team. He's just ended up slotting into the spot.
Yeah.
He's like, okay. Like, could he step in? Sure. Are you going to be happy about it? Maybe. It might work out.
My least favorite offensive lineman that we have is Donovan Smith. I hate Donovan Smith.
I don't think
No, he's not bad. I'm not saying like talent-wise, he's not bad. It's just I think he's the most penalized lineman that we have on the team. And every time that I see him draw another like false start or another like holding foul, it pisses me off to no end.
That was DeMar Dotson in 2019. Oh my gosh, I couldn't stand that dude.
God, that's a name I haven't heard in forever.
Thank God he sucked because it led us to draft Tristan Wirfs.
I'm actually gonna
Thank God we cut Caleb Benenoch. That man will forever be on my shit list. If there's a hate club for Caleb Benenoch, I am founder, CEO, president, top donor. Like, no.
God, I don't even know who this man is.
If you need to, like, when you get done here, like, just go ahead and go into the depth of Caleb Benenoch career highlights and have yourself a nice. Well, you're not even 21. I don't know. Have like a sparkling cider.
Well, it's not like it's gonna be a long video or anything.
All right,
it's his highlights.
I just looked this up to confirm my point. As the 21 season, he averaged 8 penalties a game, which is tied.
Jesus
10th,
Christ!
Which is tied 10th in the league.
8 a game?
A game?
Wait. Yeah, T with at least 20% of the highest league value rate. So whenever he played, he would get 8 penalties.
I feel like that's not.
No, there's no way that's true.
It can't be a game. 8 penalties a game, you'd be out of the league.
Yeah, not only that, but
maybe
that's tied for 10th in the league.
Right. Like, I'm sure that's what it says, but I feel like that's got to be wrong. Like, I'm not saying he's not penalized, but 8 a game?
He
did get a lot of penalties, though.
Yeah.
I probably just read it wrong. It's 8 penalties tied for 10th, which is still a lot. If he's tied for 10th with 8 penalties,
right,
that's a lot. Whether that be a game or maybe it was like over a period of when he played. Right,
that sounds a bit more accurate. But yeah, either way, 8 penalties. Yeah, top 10 in penalties for anything is absolutely ridiculous.
It's hard because for sacks allowed, he only allowed 1 sack from his position. So that shows he's a very quality player, and he has 1,147 snaps played. That's fit. So he's like, he never gets hurt. He's really good when he's not getting penalized. The problem is he gets penalized.
He's consistent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anyone on the offense we didn't talk about yet that you guys want to give a shout out to? Because I think we can go ahead and move on to the defense here.
Yeah, Tristan Wirfs, because he's a savage on the line.
Yeah.
One of the
Dude,
best draft picks that I've ever seen us pick.
He went down in training camp, and I thought, oh my gosh, we're done. And then it was just cramps, and I was like, oh, we're saved.
Yeah. Yeah, Wirfs is he's a stud.
I would go as far as to say if Tristan Wirfs played against the Rams, we would have won.
I can see that.
I will die on that hill as well. I mean, Donovan Smith probably had his worst game since 2020 that game, but Wirfs is just such a I don't even try to be biased with linemen because it's hard because there's so many great ones, but maybe outside of Trent Williams, he's probably the best tackle in the league.
Yeah, there's definitely an argument for him to be top 2, top 3.
Yeah, I really can't name any more that are really stone walls like Tristan Wirfs is. I feel
the only other guys I can think of are maybe David Bakhtiari,
and he can't stay on the field long enough. Yeah, 2 of the 3 guys you just named can't stay on the field, and I think Wirfs is better than Ramczyk personally.
What I think is incredible about him is the year we drafted him, he's a rookie. We won the Super Bowl. You slotted immediately into the starting line to protect Brady, and you were incredible at it.
Mm-hmm.
As a rookie, you just hopped out of college. It was like, yeah, I'm going to take on the NFL. It's fine.
He was my number 1 tackle in that class. There was Andrew Thomas, Mekhi Becton, Jedrick Wills Jr., and him. He was my number 1 guy. When he fell to us, my jaw dropped. I was like, "There's no way," because I think it was the Browns who had the 3rd pick out of the linemen. When the Browns picked Jedrick Wills, or maybe it was Mekhi Becton to the Jets, I was just like, "We're gonna get Tristan Wirfs," and then we traded up 1 spot. And when we did that, I was like,
to grab him.
I don't even need to sit here. I know who we drafted.
I wanted Mekhi Becton, but then hindsight, when I saw how incredible Wirfs was, I was like, "This is why I'm not a GM."
Yeah, I get that. So moving on from the offense, looking at the defense here, the defensive line is obviously absolutely incredible. We already had our little Vita Vea simp session. We all love Vita Vea. He's absolutely incredible. Akeem Hicks, obviously my guy. If he can stay healthy, he's one of the best run stoppers in football. William Golston is another guy that's just really, really solid. Is there anyone I'm missing there?
Golston's been with us for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Golston's been there forever.
I like Nacho. Hakeem Nunez-Roches.
Okay.
Nunez-Roches,
I did forget about him. You're right. I did forget.
I like him a lot. I think he's a big motor guy, and his celebrations are always so funny. I don't know what it is, but he's just so happy for himself. And I'm like, you go. You deserve it.
Akeem Hicks is the same way, dude. If you love him, you're going to love Hicks. Hicks is the exact
I've loved
same
Hicks for years. I've wanted him in Tampa forever.
He's just a big old goofball. I love Akeem so much. I'm so sad. I mean, that's what he is.
That's honestly what Ryan Jensen is. Have you seen it? Not only is he he'll just pop up out of nowhere and start trying to fight somebody to defend his players, but also there was a video that kind of went viral, and we're about to run out onto the field, and Ryan Jensen's at the front, and he just turns around and goes, "Oh look, hey Dad," and gives a fist bump to Tom Brady. He's just a big old goofball.
Yeah. If you want to see the extent of Akeem Hicks's goofiness, just look up Akeem Hicks Dalvin Cook. That's the best player-on-player rivalry in all of football. It's so funny because Akeem Hicks, whenever we play the Vikings and Akeem Hicks was healthy, Dalvin Cook didn't do a thing. And Hicks makes sure to let him know every single time that he wasn't doing a thing. And he was laughing the whole time, had a big grin on his face. There's also this one play, I want to say we were playing Carolina, and Hicks got hit a little bit after the play, somebody stumbled into him, and he turned around and shoved the wrong guy. He was like, "Oh shit, my bad," and started laughing and went back and shoved the other guy.
That's funny.
Yeah, I love Akeem. He's great. And like I said, if he's healthy for you guys, which is a big if, because that's kind of been his big thing with Chicago, he's a stud, and he's going to do work. And I think the biggest thing he has in his favor is you guys do have a nice defensive line, and he can rotate in and out, whereas Chicago, he didn't get a chance to sit on the sideline very often, especially with how bad our offense was. Our defense was constantly on the field. But there was no depth there either. And now that you have a guy like Logan Hall who can play he can play inside or outside. So if you want to start Hall on the inside, which is very possible, very doable, Hicks can kind of become a rotational depth piece. And I think that might fit him better at this stage in his career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like Logan Hall. I feel like I didn't get to say enough about him. I love Logan Hall. He's awesome. I mean, he's super athletic. He's a great pass rusher. He can play anywhere from 3-tech to 5-tech to edge. I mean, the only thing, he's got to work on his run defense. I think that's like the biggest gripe against him. But I mean, he's learning. He's learning from Akeem Hicks and Vita Vea. Exactly. Like he's in a great position right now. And
Joe Tryon too is going to be in his second season and taking over for JP.
What do you guys think of Tryon?
I wanted to bring that up because he's the biggest if on our defense, in my opinion. Because last year he didn't have a great first year, and then to put a lot of faith in him for this year, like you need to step up to the plate on a defense that I'm not saying our defense is bad. Our defense is going to be one of the better ones in the league. But when our weakness is like after you get past the line, minus David and White, it's like I get very shaky with the other players that we have.
Well, I think with Tryon, you're just kind of banking on the potential, obviously. Like, he was showing a lot of growth last year from what I saw of him. And, if I'm awful, Matt, feel free to correct me. But what I saw out of him, it was just consistent growth. He was getting better and better and better as the season went on. And I think they're just counting on that to kind of continue. And hopefully by the end of this year, he looks like a solidified starter. But I do agree. It's a big question mark there, and you're really banking on the potential with him.
I will say he's the long-term replacement for Jason Pierre-Paul, because Jason Pierre-Paul last year fell off a cliff. If you look at like the pass rush win rate and the double team rate, like that whole thing, whatever, Jason Pierre-Paul is at the bottom of that list. He's not the guy he was. He's
pushing 40, right? It's kind of to be expected at this point, unfortunately. And he's only got 8 fingers or 7 fingers or whatever.
He had a huge car accident 2 years ago, like legitimately, where his he's still alive. That was a question. Like he could have died in that car accident.
He had that on top of the firework incident. How did I not hear about this?
Yeah, he messed up his neck, if I remember correctly.
Holy shit! Yeah, I had no idea.
He almost had to have screws in his neck.
Oh, that's awful.
I think he missed maybe 10 weeks of a season or something like that because he got in a car wreck.
Yeah,
it's awful. Oh, that's just awful. I had no idea that was a thing. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
But, on the bright side, opposite Joe Tryon, you got Shaq Barrett, who...
I think he's fantastic.
Yeah. I love Shaq.
Thank you, Denver.
Yeah, I feel like Shaq Barrett's kind of... Again, I don't like to use the term underrated or overrated, but I feel like he's kind of fallen under the radar recently just because of the kind of influx of fantastic pass rushers we've seen recently. I feel like he's not a guy that gets his roses very often.
And because he didn't get 18 and a half sacks in his breakout year.
I was going to say that too. That first year he got 18 and a half sacks. It was some astronomical number. So then the next year when you only get 11 is what he got, I think, something like that. It's
still a damn good season.
Yeah, he was like it's had such a fall off. I'm like, really?
If you got a 10+ sack season, you're doing your job. You're doing great, in my opinion. It's ridiculous to say he fell off.
He had 10, so it's like that's what you consider as a big fall off,
right?
He went from 19 and a half to 10.
Yeah, as long as I don't want to say this to slight Shaq Barrett, but as long as we're not talking about a top 2 or 3 edge rusher, someone on a Mac or Bosa scale. If you're getting double-digit sacks as a number 1 edge rusher, you're doing your job as far as I'm concerned. That's all I need to see. Yeah. If you're going from 19 and a half to 10, it's 2 damn good productive years. That's great.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so much more than that now, too, because teams now have to plan for him. Teams, and then if you get into the backfield anyway, maybe you're not sacking him, but rushing the quarterback, hitting the quarterback.
Again,
all of these things that you don't track in
exactly.
Stats.
It all goes back to what I said at the very beginning. People don't watch the game anymore. They just sit and look at the stats and listen to what people on social media tell them. And because Shaq Barrett, like you said, he's maybe not putting up 19 and a half sacks, but he's still being a wrecking force for this defense. It's a terrible way to put it, but he's a force. But he doesn't have a big flashy name like a Mac or a Bosa, so he doesn't get talked about. And the stats aren't jumping out at you like crazy, so he doesn't get the recognition. I
he's not top 10 in Madden, and that truly plays a factor. Who was the guy that they? I think it was the edge rushers list where they included one guy, and I was just like, why is he even an 80 overall, much less top 10? And Shaq Barrett's not there.
I don't know.
And the thing about Shaq is like, yeah, he didn't have 18 and a half sacks last year, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm at least close. He's like, I believe top 3 in the league in pressures in the last 3 seasons or something. Like, you don't have to get 18 and a half sacks to be one of the top guys. Like, I'm pretty sure if I'm thinking correctly, I'm pretty sure he's right under Watt and Chandler Jones for like most pressures in the last 3 years. Like, he's doing his job. Sometimes you just don't get the sack. It is what it is. You're still doing your job at an efficient level.
Yeah,
I'm surprised Chandler Jones is actually that high, but
then you also pair him, with the Vita Veas and what's it called, and now the Akeem Nicks of the world. It's like you have to prepare now for 3 people. You only have 5 offensive linemen, and that now you're gonna have to throw the tight end into blocking, or you're gonna have to take the running back out of a route. You have to plan for so much more when these people are coming at you.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you send in Devin White, that's like his bread and butter is rushing the quarterback. You have, 10 sacks the season before? Like, that's insane for a linebacker, especially off the ball. Like, there's no reason why a man should be able to do that and move that way.
And we always drop Lavonte David into pass coverage. He's an excellent pass coverage linebacker. Like, it's the 1-2 punch with the line and the linebackers have been incredible. I hate to beat the dead horse. It's always been our backs that kind of ruin the day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, talking about the linebackers, like we said already, Lavonte David is one of the best in football. I think he deserves more credit. I'm not going to go as far as Ashlie said to say he's the best. I'm a firm believer that Fred Warner's like a top 5 player in football overall. Like, what he does for that 49ers defense is absolutely insane. So I would put him on a tier by himself. But that next tier, that Lavonte David, absolutely, he's in that conversation. Absolute
It's funny
stud.
you say that because, like, I call Fred Warner baby Lavonte all the time. Like, if you look at, like, old school Lavonte, like, 2012 to, like, 2015, it's literally a smaller Fred Warner. It's so funny. It's like, wow, like, they really do play really similar.
Yeah, Fred Warner's insane.
I know we said earlier that Devin White is overrated, even though we love him. I still think Lavonte David and Devin White as the combo is one of the best linebacker combos in the league.
I think that's part of the reason why Devin White is overrated, because they see what he does next to Lavonte. Because if he was in a different situation where he was asked to be the main linebacker, the Mike, the head honcho, so to speak.
The guy that had to cover?
Right. I mean, pretty much, because he can't do shit in coverage. I mean, if he was the head honcho of this defense, people would be looking at him a lot differently. But because Lavonte is able to pick up his slack in coverage and allow Devin to, like Ashlie said, rush the passer, play run defense, stick to what he knows, people look at him as like, wow, he's really good in this defense, when in reality, he's doing like 2 of the 3 things you're asking of a linebacker. And in today's NFL, pass coverage is the most important thing a linebacker can do. Like, thumpers still have their purpose, but they're not near as valuable. They're not near as important. And I don't think they should be ranked as high. And that's kind of where the whole Devin White thing comes from. Whereas Lavonte David,
passing is such an inaugural part of the game. Like, not that it wasn't before, but, like Tampa, for example, we're a pass first offense.
Mm-hmm.
So teams that come up against us,
any team in NFL history last year.
Yeah, like Brady and against the Eagles threw 50 passes.
Like, that's blowout. That's crazy.
He did the same thing against the Cowboys, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like that's unheard of numbers. So, if you try to play devil's advocate and flip that, like our team needs to be ready to go against these teams that are going to pass first. And so.
And Lavonte David is a straight up liability in that type of. Or no, I'm sorry, not Lavonte David. Devin White is a straight up liability in that situation. Good Lord. Yeah.
But I also think it's important that he is paired with Lavonte, because at least Lavonte can coach him, be like, hey, you need to be here, you need to do this, that kind of thing. Like not even worrying about picking up his slack. If you have someone who knows exactly what to do, you practice with them every day, so like you'll get better at that. Not saying you're going to all of a sudden become the greatest pass defender that there is, but better than where you're at now is going to help a lot.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of coverage as a linebacker is just knowing where you need to be. And that's something that can definitely be figured out. And like you said, having Lavonte David to rely on is huge for that. But Devin White's like, what, 25, 26 now? He's kind of in that the middle zone.
Let's find
He's
out.
something like that. Yeah.
Either way, I think he's kind of beyond, Lavonte David fixing him as a coverage backer. Like, yeah, he can help him, and he's going to tell him where he needs to be. But once Lavonte's out of there, which is unfortunately sooner rather than later, they're either going to have to find somebody real quick that can do what Lavonte does, or Devin White is about to show everybody why he's not quite the linebacker they want him to be.
He's 24, by the way.
Oh, so only what?
Yep.
What the hell? Okay, well, maybe I'm wrong.
I knew he was drafted. 2019, but I thought he was.
Holy cow! He's drafted in 2019, only being 24. Jesus. No, I don't know. I guess you can still kind of look at it from the experience because he's been in the league 4 years now. You want him to be a little bit higher? I don't know, but either way, my point is, I do think. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that probably plays into why, or another reason why people think he's incredible. Only 4 years in the league, 24, and you're, play like he has played incredible. It's just there is certain things that he really needs to fix that only people like the super fans of the team are going to see. Yeah.
I mean, to the casual eye, I get it. You just see him making splash plays here and there. But if you're watching the games, he's not quite a top 10 linebacker like people want to act like he is. And I still think that them ranking him as a top 5 linebacker on that consensus commissioner list, or not commissioner list, executive list or whatever, is one of the worst things I've ever seen. That was absolutely insane.
People need to realize that those lists are made by people who are biased towards the people associated with them. NFL, I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, there was an NFL top 100 list that got leaked, and there was 3 Colts players inside the top 20, and one of them was Marlon Mack.
Yeah.
So you need to realize that these lists, just because they play the game does not mean that they are valid.
And that's not a slight at them saying they don't understand the game. It's just like you said, there's a lot of bias to it. I'll guarantee you a GM is going to look at well, I drafted this guy and I want to look smart, so I'm going to boost his rating so it makes me look better. That kind of stuff is definitely going to happen.
Yeah,
or I work with this guy and I know what he's capable of. He just hasn't shown it yet.
Somebody who had a reputation for sticking with his guys no matter what before he had a good reputation was Jason Wright. Our GM had that reputation.
Oh, people were not high on Jason Light at all.
No, not at all.
Before the team made the turnaround.
I wasn't high on him. Are you kidding me? When we signed him into an extension, I didn't like that we did. Obviously, I regret. I truly was admittedly just a casual fan back then, but still, I obviously regret that.
We all have our mistakes. I called in to NFL Red Zone because I had Sirius XM. It took me 35 calls, but I got on because I was driving home, and it was a 45-minute for me to drive home from work from where I was. And when I finally got on, I was talking to them about the Bucs QB situation before we got Brady, and I advocated to keep Jameis Winston.
Listen, I am a FSU fan and a Bucs fan. Until we got Brady, I said we should be giving Jameis Winston another chance. I am a Jameis Winston stan. I think he is a top. If you're not including Deshaun Watson, I think he's top 15 in the league right now. I love the dude.
I don't hate that.
I think
Brady.
I think he showed. I think that he showed last year before he got hurt that he made strides to be better. So this is going to be his big prove it year. The Saints aren't a terrible team. I would like to see what they do as much as I hate the Saints.
I think that Jameis didn't try to Jameis also didn't do half the things he's done for the Saints in the terms of got eye surgery and lost all the weight and stopped weird training rituals. And it was just you did all of this when you got a new team, but didn't do all of this in the 5 years you were in Tampa, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, LASIK
And I think
Jameis is
that's
a different beast.
That's a big reason why like we got rid of him. But at the same time, if he stayed and did all of that, I wonder where we would have been. Like
I don't
think we're winning the Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong,
No.
but I'm curious to see, like, would the team still have been good? Like, would we
Right.
have made a case like, oh, Jameis is like, he's like a Kirk Cousins kind of level now. Like, what's going on?
That's fair.
Hell, I think Jameis is better than Kirk right now. I'm not gonna lie. Like that's a straight up take I have. I hate Kirk. I really don't think he's that good.
Yeah, I
Why
watched
do you
I saw your TikTok. I saw your TikTok on Kirk Cousins, and
I've made about 30
disagree
of
with
them.
you. I disagree with you on some of those.
Yeah,
That's a discussion for another day.
I was gonna say, because I could go off about Kirk Cousins. I really am
Yeah.
not impressed with Kirk whatsoever. Speaking of things that aren't impressive, the only position group we haven't really talked about. Well, I guess we have talked about it, but not in depth. Is the secondary? Yeah, it's
my
just
least favorite conversation.
right. Is there really anything else to say? I mean, we've kind of just said it's the worst position group on this team. It's borderline a liability. It needs to step up big time. Like
it hurts because when we went on our Super Bowl run and won the Super Bowl, half of those players in the secondary were in their second year and they played out of their minds in the playoffs. Like, it's like, why can't you consistently do that? Because then this year we'd play some teams and some teams would kill us over the top. We get them into 3rd and 7 situations and it's like it's a walk in the park for them. And it's frustrating. Like Jamal Dean, every time he came on the field, something crazy happened. He's not even a bad player. Like, I used to hate seeing Mike Edwards come on the field too. It's like, why is Jordan Whitehead sitting out on the 3rd and long? Like, what's going on? And like, they're better now. I'm not completely sliding them, but it's frustrating to see, like, we have a defensive like minded coach, and you can't. Well, he was still on the team. He was the defensive coordinator.
Still a damn good coordinator, right?
So I'm like, you can't figure out what's going on with these players. Like, I don't know. It's really frustrating from a fan standpoint.
Yeah.
I'll ask y'all this: if you were to do like a ranking, where would you have Carlton Davis? Because I've heard some people try to tell me that he's top 10, and I can't buy it.
That's too high.
He's definitely not 10. He's definitely not top 10.
I don't know where I'd rank him, but he's not top 10. Yeah. When we're talking about
I don't think he's bad, but
yeah.
No. He's a cornerback one for a reason, and he got paid $15 million a year for a reason.
Yeah, I agree.
It was a little bit of an overpay,
but even to that point though, like we all just said that he's not top 10 on a team that's in win now mode, and he's our cornerback one. Like, what's going on with the team that you have a player that's not like I understand not having like the best in every position, but like teams who are consistently great, like the Rams, for example, it's like they have arguably one of the best cornerbacks in the league. And their defense slots in accordingly. Like, for us, once you get to the secondary, there's a major drop off in the talent scale.
Yeah.
And when you have Carlton Davis, I think he's truly reached his ceiling. And if you disagree with me on that, go watch the Chiefs' regular season game against us, the Super Bowl year. Jamel Dean was hurt that game. Jamel Dean was supposed to go one-on-one with Tyreek Hill because he was the fast, athletic guy that could keep up with Tyreek. We then had to put Carlton Davis on him, and he got cooked for Tyreek Hill had 233 yards that game, if I remember correctly, and saved fantasy managers' entire weeks or killed them. But my point is like, he will never – he just doesn't have the raw ability to become this absolutely great player.
Yeah.
And if we want our secondary to step up, it has to be Jamel Dean.
Yeah.
Because Antoine Winfield's already great. We got a bunch of guys to reinforce the safety position outside of Winfield.
I think the safety. I think we did incredible getting Ryan and Keanu O'Neal. I think those were incredible pickups.
Ryan was the guy I really loved.
Yeah, I think those those are pickups that went under the radar to people who don't follow the Bucs, and I think those are two of the most incredible pickups that we had in this offseason. Two veterans who know what they're doing. to help slot in with because if we didn't get Logan Ryan and Keanu Neal, Mike Edwards is the starting safety because
I don't think Mike
Whitehead
Edwards
left.
is that
I'm
bad, but I also don't think that he should be our number one guy going into a win mode.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely agree with that. It's our argument with Davis. He's not bad. No one's saying he's bad, but to have him as your number one cornerback, I feel like that's not good when you're a team that is expected. As fans, it's Super Bowl or bust this year because it's our team's last year essentially.
Arguably the biggest move for the Chargers this offseason was getting J.C. Jackson, and maybe not the most important considering they had a glaring need on their D line, but just the best player, J.C. Jackson. I mean, as soon as they signed him, everybody went, okay, the Chargers are gonna go berserk this year.
Yeah. That I do agree that the Bucs are in a weird position with corner. I like Carlton Davis, but I think you look at him more of as a low end corner one, high end corner two, where Daniel hit the nail on the head talking about the Rams and how they have Ramsey and then Dominic. God, I keep pointing the wrong way. Dominic bringing up J.C. Jackson going to the Chargers. You need a true lockdown number one corner in this league if you're going to contend, and the Bucs just don't have that. They have everything else. They just don't have a true lockdown number one, and that's going to hurt you when you're going against some of these great wide receivers. Carlton Davis can hold his own to a certain extent, but like Dominic said, he doesn't have the athletic traits to keep up with guys like Tyreek Hill or any of the I can't think of any other speedsters in the NFC off the top of my head, but there are individuals that you're going to have to go up against that Carlton Davis just can't cover. He just doesn't have the athletic ability to do it. And that leaves you with Jamel Dean, who you really want to see to take that next step forward. That's kind of their glaring weakness, is that they need that number one guy, and it's too late to get one. So you just kind of got to hope Davis can do the job, I think, or hope Dean can take some sort of step forward.
Some of these games are going to be difficult, though, too, because when you look at our schedule, we play the Bengals late in the season. We play the Niners late in the season. Hopkins will be back when we play the Cardinals. So, you have – if you can't figure out that position, you're then forced to build your defensive game plan around dropping the corner into coverage and having safety help, almost double teaming half the field, which then leaves, the middle open. And we've already discussed that Devin White's not the greatest at coverage. So, they try to run on first down, doesn't work, and then they're passing all over us.
Right.
Yeah, them not getting any
some
kind of corner help is crazy. It's crazy. It blows my mind. It's been my biggest gripe for years. Since 2019, I've been we really need a veteran cornerback here. We really need someone that's going to step in and teach these guys. And every year they just don't do it.
Well, and it's what's sad is when we have done it, the team wasn't ready. Because we had Darrelle Revis for that 1 year, Revis Island, but it's the rest of the team was terrible. Nobody Darrelle Revis came here, even though he wasn't nearly as good as what he used to be, but it's you still got Darrelle Revis to then help these other guys. It's the team's trash.
That reminds me of
and we've drafted a cornerback in the draft for the past 4 years, 5 years, something like that. It's because we can never figure out the position. Yeah.
And I mean, it's just such a. I don't want to say the Bucs defense feels like it's stuck in the past, but they build it in a way where you're going to be great against the run, bad against the pass, and it's a scary look for the team this year. Like I said, I just don't know what they're going to do with their corners. I really don't know what's going to happen. I didn't even know they played the Bengals. That's going to be rough because Carlton Davis has no chance against Jamar Chase. He just doesn't.
Yeah, and that's who he's going to be lined up against. But but even teams that we should beat, we play the Saints twice a year. They always have our number. We never beat the freaking Saints.
Yeah.
But Michael Thomas is back. You're going to put Davis on Michael Thomas?
That's also why I for the short game and the slot cornerback. That's why I wanted Daxton Hill. We've needed a slot cornerback specifically for so long. There was a guy on the Jets, I think it was not last year, but maybe 2 years ago, and I really wanted us to get him, and we didn't get him.
Bryce Hall?
Yeah, I think it might have been him. I know, because he was the guy last year. I think it was 2 years ago. But point is we just need a slot guy, and that's why I love Daxton Hill, because he can do anything.
And it's just and to just beat the point dead. It's like a lot of these teams we play, we're gonna get burnt. Like we play the Rams, we play like the Seahawks. I don't think are going to be a good team at all, but they still have Lockett and Metcalf. Like
right.
So like we play the Saints twice. The 49ers got Debo, who can do whatever you want.
Well,
like we play the Cardinals, so.
I know you're saying the Seahawks, specifically the Seahawks. It'll be another Chiefs-Bucks Super Bowl with them because their O-line is abysmal.
And plus, you're going to have Drew Lock or Geno Smith throwing the football. But
no,
either way, if he can hit one of them in
Lock
stride, if there's a chance he can hit one of them in stride, you're right. Davis is going to get cooked.
Yeah. I think we're going to beat the Seahawks. Like I feel like any betting person would say we're going to beat the Seahawks, and I don't mean that to the point as like, oh, Drew Lock's the quarterback. It's like, you're right. I'm focusing on just the receivers.
Right.
Like,
But,
Lockett and Metcalf can handle our secondary, which is scary.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the only slight against going Logan Hall early on, is there were some nice corners available, both when you traded back and to the point you traded back to. Like, you had opportunities to take guys like Andrew Booth or Dax Hill or Kyler Gordon. Plenty of guys there.
That when we traded back, Dax Hill would still be there for us, but I knew at 31 to the Bengals there was a chance, and they took him.
That was such a good pick by the Bengals too, especially now with Jesse Bates. Such a great pick. But yeah, I just really can't stress enough how worried I am about Carlton Davis this year and what he's going to be able to do.
And then to add more insult, you have, like, we don't have depth at the positions.
Mm-mm.
Like if someone like Davis goes down, you got Ross Cockrell starting now,
right?
And like I don't think Cockrell is the worst, but
he's so bad.
He was a preseason.
What are his redeeming qualities? Please, if you have a redeeming quality for Ross Cockrell, I'd love to hear it. I think
his name sounds cool.
The only time he will ever be good is when his wife is competing in the Olympics, and that was during the preseason last year.
He has a wife that's competed in the Olympics.
Yeah, she did the 200-meter hurdles or something.
Good for her.
Yeah,
good for her.
Legit was good. She made the team and everything.
Sucks her husband's not good.
If the consensus that Cockrell's bad, we already talked about Murphy Bunting being bad, and that's the only other person that you slot in as the number one. So it would be Bunting and Dean as the corners.
I mean, obviously he's not going to be ready, so it's a bit iffy. But Zion McCollum has the upside to be a guy that can do something like that. He's got the size, he's got the athletic traits. I mean, if you can, develop him.
If we're going off of like an upside guy, though, is he really going to be like year one when we need him to be that?
No. I'm not saying that at all.
I just don't think he could be worse than how Murphy Bunting has been playing.
I mean, is like a third corner. Absolutely.
Last year.
At some point, you have to be like, is this really going to be that much of a drop off? Letting a rookie learn instead of Bunting getting bitched off the line every time someone brushes by him. Like, no.
Right. Yeah. It's literally the only glaring weakness I can see with this team, and unfortunately, it's a massive weakness with how today's NFL is played. But just to kind of step away from that and wrap things up, how do we think this team is going to do this year? I'm sure it's like Super Bowl or bust mentality right now. It's got to be, right?
Are you talking specifically regular season or just
in general? How far do you think the team's going to go? You think they're going to win the division and go to the Super Bowl? Like, what is your expectation?
So
I think we're going to win the division.
No, the thing is I have been preaching that because I'm not only a Bucs fan, but I like the Saints because my grandmother's from there. And
okay.
I know Daniel, you don't like them, but I'm.
You shouldn't have been invited.
If I would have known ahead of time, I wouldn't have invited him. I'm sorry, that's my fault.
You gotta go. You gotta go get the
They're
axe.
but the Bucs are.
Hold on, let me just. There we go.
Imagine being a Jets and a Giants fan. You know?
How does that work?
Imagine loving baseball and you're like, well, I was born in New York, so I'm a Yankees fan, but I also love the Red Sox, man. Like, whew.
Oh my.
But yeah, so like I have been preaching that like they are a scary team, and I think they legitimately can like tie our record.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they're that good.
I think the Saints will probably beat us both times because the Saints always have our number. I hate it so much.
Splitting with them because Sean Payton is gone. I feel like
You're at least gonna split, yeah.
I
would hope so, but it took us the year we won the Super Bowl. They beat us both times, and the second time they beat us like 40-3 at home. Like it took us. Yeah, it took us to the playoffs to beat them, and that was the scariest game of my life. Like, I was like, we have to play the Saints. Great.
I was like, if we lose to the Saints in the playoffs too for the third time this year, I don't know how I'm going to come back from that. Like, I don't have
the triple crown on you. Yeah.
I think I've seen in the past like 4 years of beating the Saints twice, something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous, and one of those was the playoffs. So like they always beat us in the regular season, and it bothers me. I hope we split with them. Like, I hope we beat them both times. We're a better team. I don't think that's going to happen,
I think that we're a top 2 team in the NFC, but I don't think we're going to be, like, the regular season, crazy team with, like, some of the teams that we do play. I actually have ran through this once before, and I need to do it again after some of the updates that have happened throughout the league and stuff. But I remember the first time I ran through it, I had us going 11-6.
I got to find mine.
I had us
the
going
first
11.
four
I have
games
13-4.
The first 4 games of the season are ridiculous. We play. I have my phone pulled up here. We play.
I have it up.
Where am I? Yeah, we play in Dallas against the Cowboys, in New Orleans against the Saints, home versus the Packers, and home versus the Chiefs in the first 4 games of the season. And that's like your biggest trial period in a season is like the first 6 weeks. Like if you don't come out of that 2-2, if you come out of there 0-4, you're fucked. You can come out of there 2-2, you're still kind of fucked, but you didn't get like seriously screwed. So I feel like if they can come out 2-2, I'm okay with that.
I think we can pull out like 2-2. I mean, I guess especially if one of them is away against the Saints, I think 2-2 is fine.
And that Superdome is crazy. That place is bad vibes all over the place.
Right.
I think
if I had to guess record, I'd probably say like 12-5.
That was the other one I was considering, like 11-6, 12-5.
12-5 and 12-5 and 13-4 has been where I fall around.
What do you have us losing to is the question.
Well, I think we're going to beat Dallas, and then I think we're also going to beat Green Bay. So it comes down to the wild card of New Orleans and Kansas City, because we've had Green Bay's number for some reason the past couple of years.
I don't know. Their defense scares me this year.
Their offense worried
before we beat Green Bay. To be honest,
I flip it. I am not high on Kansas City this year. If you want to talk hot takes, I think Kansas City could start the season 3-4 or worse.
I mean, they did last year.
Yeah, but if you want to like go off the rails real quick, Kansas City's start is insane. They have to play at Arizona, then against the Chargers, then the Colts, the Bucks, the Raiders, the Bills, and then the 49ers.
I think
I get they're a good team. I get they're a good team, but like that could very easily be a bunch of losses for them.
Yeah,
that's a bunch of losses. The thing is I think that the Cardinals and Raiders are 2 teams that are kind of getting overrated right now.
I like the Raiders, but I don't have much faith in the Cardinals.
I agree. I like what the Raiders are doing. I think what's going to hold them back is their division is the hardest division in football.
I just don't like.
I think if
they're gonna run the ball a lot, yet they invested so much in like all their receivers. Whenever I'm like,
I wouldn't say they're gonna run the ball a lot.
What'd you say?
That. I wouldn't say they're gonna run the ball a lot. They got Derek Carr.
I think they did not only a preseason, but that's kind of Mike McDaniel's calling card.
I think.
Yeah, but he's never had a quarterback of Derek Carr's caliber. Or I guess not never. But like,
Adams, if your plan is
right.
I don't think you signed Devontae Adams, and I don't think you pay Hunter Renfrow as much as you did if you're going to be a run first team. That doesn't.
You also have Darren Waller.
Yeah.
Darren Waller's one of the best tight ends in football. Like that's.
Yeah.
I think their offense is pretty good. Their defense is what they're worried about.
Yeah, I'm worried about their secondary mainly. Their corners are iffy, and they're outside of Malrig. I have no faith in their safeties. Like I think Jonathan Abram is straight up garbage.
Rock Yassin was not an adequate replacement. I don't care.
Rock Yassin isn't bad. He's inconsistent. but
did
he's
they
not
have
bad.
last year? I can't
Casey
remember.
what was it? Hayward last year?
Yeah, no, was it him?
I think it was
It's
Hayward.
the guy who signed in Atlanta this year.
Yeah, Casey Hayward.
Yeah, that was Casey Hayward.
Okay.
He's not an adequate replacement for Casey Hayward.
No, but he's all right. He's nothing like he's okay.
He's a cornerback too. That's
what he's going to be. No, he's going to be playing CB2 there. I can't remember the Trayvon Mullen. I think is there CB1. I could be mistaken
That's
with the
another
name.
reason for concern then.
Like I said, their secondary is shoddy. I don't like their secondary, but their pass rush is going to be fantastic. They've got nice linebackers. Their offense is really good. I think the Raiders can. I think they're a team that like sneaks into the playoffs at like 9-8.
If they stay healthy.
I think they're like a 9-8, maybe a 10-7.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and I mean they're like 3 or 4 deep at linebacker. I think they're fine at linebacker.
I think the wild card in that division is more of the Broncos. Like
I don't have much faith in them at all.
Their depth at receiver just went downhill. Like you got Russell Wilson, but you have nobody.
Tim Patrick was the only receiver from that group I'm super confident in.
Honestly, I love Courtland Sutton this year.
Sutton's kind of whatever, and I'm not a Judy guy. I'm not sipping the Kool-Aid on Judy. I don't see it.
I like Judy. I just don't like the fit for him with Russ now.
Judy's just a route runner, man. He's got nothing else to his game that's really stands out. Like, yeah, he's a good route runner, but he can't do anything after the catch. Yeah, but even then, like, how much damage is he really gonna do? You know, everyone's counting on him to be the next right. Everyone's counting on him to be the next Devontae Adams or whatever because he's a good route runner. His hands aren't super impressive. He's not super athletic. He's not somebody that's going to get a 50-50 ball. Yeah,
he's literally a toothpick. Like,
yeah,
no.
I don't like Judy at all. I'm not a big Judy believer.
To bring it back to the Bucs.
Yeah.
If you get past like Dallas, New Orleans, Green Bay, Kansas City, say we go 2-2 in that stretch, in whatever way you want it to be, the next stretch is Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Carolina, Baltimore. I think we win all 4 of those games.
Baltimore is the only game that I'm even worried about there.
No. Well, the thing
I'm not even worried about Baltimore at that point. I don't feel like their offense is going to be good at all, and their defense is atrocious, especially corner like. Especially secondary-wise, they're awful.
If their secondary's healthy, it's incredible.
It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. Like I'm not trying to sound rude or like
no.
Or anything,
I'm just
but
saying, like last year.
Well, yeah, because they were beat up.
Was so bad.
They were hurt. It's because everybody got hurt in the first like 3 weeks. Their entire secondary was out, and then they had Kyle Hamilton on top of that.
They were the most statistically team in 20 years.
Did draft Hamilton. I
They
forgot about
draft Kyle Hamilton. They're getting Marlon Humphrey back. They're getting Marcus Peters back. And then their other safeties are good. I can't remember the names for the life. Chuck Clark, and I can't remember the other one. There was a big free agent signing. Was it Marcus Williams? Is that who they added?
You're right.
Yeah, like their secondary's good. It was just hurt last year. Like I understand if you're just looking at the numbers from last year, it was atrocious. But everybody was hurt, and they make big splash additions in the offseason. So their secondary is going to be great.
I just want to know how. Like I'm looking at for like our defensive standpoint. Like Lamar's going to Lamar. Like he's going to get his yards on the ground. I mean, you're not going to stop. You're not going to shut him down completely. It's just what do they do outside of that?
Yeah, their receivers are pretty mediocre.
That's the argument that I have. Like,
I think Baltimore is going to be great this year. I love them, but if they're going to run the ball against us, I think we do win that.
Yeah, they don't match up well against Tampa at all.
I don't think they're going to be great. Baltimore is one of those teams where I kind of fit also with like the Raiders. I've got them at
10-7.
Yeah, we're
13 wins.
We got. Me and good old Miller football over here. We're on the same wavelength with Baltimore. I agree. Their defense is incredible, but I think they have like what happened to the 49ers late in the season. Like they're not going to do anything on offense. And that's not a slight to Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson's incredible. People need to raise him higher in their lists.
They just don't have a receiver core.
Yeah,
they have Bateman and that's it.
But I think Bateman is going to be better than Hollywood Brown. And
I think he will. I don't think Hollywood Brown is any good. I really don't think Hollywood's that good. I think Bateman's going to be a stud.
He's definitely
Hollywood doesn't have good hands at all.
Hollywood is literally
Hollywood's
just
about
fast. He is
Hollywood's
just
about to go to
fast.
jail.
Molly was also arrested. So.
Yeah. He was still
he's about
what,
to
like,
not play.
yeah, he's fast and that's it, which ironically is what he got arrested for.
Yeah. He did the same thing that the Raiders.
Yeah,
Raiders
he did everything Ruggs did except
Henry
kill a
Ruggs,
person.
Yeah, except kill a person. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I see him
the
getting
most
suspended.
important part that got him the
Right.
jail sentence.
Kill a person and their dog. Don't forget there was a
And
dog
their
in that
dog.
car
Yeah,
as
don't
well.
forget the dog.
It was a dog.
Mm-hmm. But I don't want to rush you guys, but I think we got to wrap up here soon. We're at like 2:20.
Yeah, no problem.
So just as a
You just
whole,
don't like
I think
talking to us.
no, I gotta run. I got stuff to do. But like just as a whole, we do think this is going to be a successful team, most likely first in the division, play like Super Bowl or bust, right?
I think it. Go ahead.
At least a top 3 seed. That's all I was gonna say.
Right.
I think I don't think we're gonna get the 1 seed just because our schedule. I don't know if like 12-5, even if we drop even more than that. Because I mean, there's also the games that you're not supposed to lose. We're gonna lose to someone shitty for no reason.
Right.
But I also think the NFC is the weaker of the two.
Absolutely.
Which I think
It's
then
top
puts us
heavy.
back into. Yeah, I think that puts us back into the conversation for 1, 2, or 3, and it just comes down to who we're going to play in the playoffs. I think we'll win the wild card game. We'll be the home team because of our division win. And I think we'll play someone. We'll play like the Vikings or something in the first round.
Yeah.
And then after that, it gets scary because I'm not scared of Green Bay. I actually don't think Green Bay is going to win their division this year. Another hot take.
I do just because I don't have faith in the Vikings.
Yeah, I picked the Vikings, which is where you and me need to have another conversation because I think that just comes down
Bring
to
us back on the podcast, man.
It just comes down to Kirk at the end of the day. I know.
It comes
Kirk.
down because if you want to be one of those people too who only look at statistics, which I know you can't do, but last year Kirk Cousins went 32-7 as far
But
as
that's my thing with
touchdowns
Kirk. He's always going to put up nice numbers, but when you sit down and watch the film, Kirk doesn't do anything impressive. Like he just plays too conservative for me.
Without jumping in the rabbit hole, they had 7 games where they lost by 1 possession. So I think a lot of that comes down to their defense too, which I think they tried to address. So
you could say that Mike Zimmer like lost the locker room, but Mike Zimmer literally asked Kirk to be more aggressive.
Kirk's been asked by multiple coaches across his career to play more aggressive.
No. Like he flat out said no, despite losing so many games by 1 possession. He still
Kirk threw a game-winning touchdown and afterwards says he wish he could have taken it back because he didn't like how risky the play was. Yeah, it was like a contested. It wasn't like a last-second buzzer beater or something, but it was like the touchdown that decided the game, and he threw it like contested to Adam Thielen. And he came down with it. And in a press conference after the game, he was like, "Yeah, if I could, I would take that one back and maybe try to find something a little more open. Try to find something a little safer there because I don't know if I'm getting that twice in a row." Any quarterback that's anybody is going to be like, "Yeah, I hit that fucking throw. What about it?" Kirk is like, I would have tried it again." Shut up, Kirk.
That's your time to be like, "I'm the best arm talent
right
there is."
That's your time to be like, "Yeah, I made that play. What are you going to do about it?"
Yeah, literally, Kirk does not have that dog in him.
I mean, plain and simple, he doesn't. Kirk has zero dog in him. He has zero dog in him. Yeah, he does not have a killer mentality, and you need a killer mentality to be a great quarterback in today's NFL. That's my main gripe with Kirk. He's too conservative. And at the end of the day, that's not going to get you where you need to be in today's NFL. Because when you have guys like Mahomes, Allen, Rodgers, Stafford, Brady that are willing to take big-time risks that win you or lose you a game, you can't keep up with it if you're a guy like Kirk. That just isn't. And that's what separates.
I think. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was just bringing it back.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I think it comes down to like us, the Packers, and the Rams. Really, I think that's the top 3, and I think those are one of those 3 teams will make the Super Bowl. I don't think it'll be the Rams because no team wins the Super Bowl 2 years in a row in the NFL.
They lost.
And then like. Maybe like if we see the Saints in the playoffs, that would really scare me just because the Saints always have our number. But other than that, like I don't think Dallas. I think the Eagles are going to win their division. And like, but I have to see how they play because that team has the potential to be pretty scary.
Right.
but I'm not concerned about like any of the teams in the NFC. It comes down to like making the Super Bowl. Who are we playing, kind of thing.
Right. I agree with that 100%. The NFC is really top heavy, and even then the teams at the top, they all have glaring weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like the Rams lost a lot of big defensive pieces. The Packers don't have a receiver core. The Bucs corners are rough. The Eagles, like I like them, but they're a team that you're banking on a lot of upside, and there's no guarantee it's going to hit.
And
so
Jalen Hurts is
right,
the quarterback, and he's not
right.
Yet.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And if you want to throw the Saints in that conversation, you're banking on Winston to give you a full 17 games, or 17 game season now. And we saw him looking good at the beginning of last year, but who knows if he can carry that through a full season. Throw the Vikings in there, like I said, concerns with Kirk Cousins, concerns with what this team is going to be under a new regime. Am I missing anybody? Is there any other team that can realistically make a playoff run in the NFC? Dallas, they lost a bunch of pieces, and their coach is Mike fucking McCarthy.
Dallas might not even make the playoffs.
I don't think they will either, but they're one of the teams you got to put in that conversation.
That opens it up for the Lions, man.
I think the Lions are a game out of the playoffs. That's where I have them. Or 2 games, sorry.
I haven't done my predictions yet, but dude, I could do it.
Oh,
I might do it.
49ers, that's what I'm forgetting. They have Trey Lance. We don't know what Lance is.
I am not. Everyone's heavy on Lance. I don't think he's going to.
I see the vision
at least
with
this
Lance.
year.
Yeah, I see the vision with him, but I can also see where it's going to go horribly wrong.
He's getting a lot of hate from what I've seen, and I
really.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Everybody. I mean, the fact that Jimmy G was still there concerned everybody for some reason.
Well, no, it's because Jimmy G's not healthy. Nobody wants to trade for him.
Exactly. So why is this a question? Trey Lance is the guy, and I think.
I mean, they already told Trey Lance he's the guy.
Yeah.
They
also told Jimmy.
Recently
they told Jimmy that they're trying to get rid of him. Like not as like a
Where
slight
does
to
he
him. It's
go?
like we know you want to play.
I don't know, Cleveland if Watson can't play.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cleveland.
That or
New York
the Bucs as our backup.
Yeah, New York could go after him if Daniel Jones doesn't show up. Maybe he's a mid-season trade.
I think Daniel Jones is going to get his ass beat again for 17 games.
Yeah, Daniel Jones isn't good. I'm not a Daniel Jones guy.
No. I am.
I got in a big Daniel Jones debate on our Giants episode with a guy by the name of Stefan. It was quite the debate. It was.
I remember. I gotta go watch that. I think he's had the worst situation. I don't think he's gonna be like a franchise guy, but I think he's better than like. Some people have him as like a bottom 3 starting quarterback in the league. I think he's better than that.
Yeah, but at the quarterback position, you can't not be a franchise guy.
Yeah.
Unless you're a placeholder, but like other than that, you have to be there.
Listen, we're talking about a team that's going to be in a position to draft one of Bryce Young or CJ Stroud next year.
I don't even know if they are. I love Brian Dable.
I do too, but you can only go as far as Daniel Jones is going to take you, and I'm not confident he can take you very far.
I hope they win 4 games and don't get to pick either of them.
If you run.
That's my hope.
I just want to put it out there. I think the Giants should trade Saquon.
Yeah, I agree.
I also think that the Panthers should trade McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the only issue is what's the market for him.
Not only is what the market is for him, but like Matt Rule is fighting for his job. He's not trading anybody good.
That's not really up to Matt Rule. You know, that's GM's job. But my thing is with him. His
job is up for grabs too. You kidding me? They've been a horrible organization.
Yeah. No, it's going to be an overhaul in Carolina, but you're just kind of looking at it like what's the market for them. But I do agree, if you can find a deal for either of them, take it. Take whatever value you can get out of them. I thought Buffalo was going to go after Saquon, but then they drafted James Cook.
I don't mind not facing Christian McCaffrey twice a year.
Well, you already don't have to worry about that.
I was going to say we already don't face him.
You might get him once a year.
Yeah,
I think that's him and Saquon. Like they're both still good enough to get you capital back, but they're also not consistent at all to warrant you to keep them or re-sign them, like we talked about with the running back position.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the only running backs right now that you would re-sign is like Henry and Taylor and Chubb.
Yeah, so I agree with that. But I think that about wraps it up, unless there was anything about the Buccaneers, not any other teams, about the Buccaneers that we didn't touch on that you guys want to bring up.
I think we're good.
All right. Well, real quick, once again, go ahead and I'll let you guys plug your TikTok, Twitter, whatever it is you want to plug, go ahead and do it. I let you do it at the beginning. You can do it here again at the end as well.
For me, it's just Dominic Valdez 5 on Twitter, but I'm not even trying to build that up. For me, it's gameofinches47 on TikTok. That one, I'm trying to get to 1,000. I'm going to try and promote this and then just ramp up my content, and hopefully I can get to 1K so I can join some live streams and build it from there.
Valid.
If you want, you can find me at EMT_Ashlie on Twitter. I don't do TikTok. I probably should. That's like the new big wave. But
your Twitter page is amazing, by the way. I asked David for both of you guys like social media handles before, and I love your.
Thanks.
I love your Twitter page.
No love for Daniel though. He couldn't find your TikTok, unfortunately.
I couldn't find it, dude.
It's all right. I mean, I wasn't super trying to build up anything. I have been recently with sports, but I haven't made a dedicated page yet. If anybody ever wants to debate, though,
it's totally football, really.
If anybody ever wants to do debates or just hit me up about any sport, my Instagram I'm on a lot, which is _true_stars with a Z. So
sounds like a name straight out of 2014.
Yeah,
I love it.
The Z.
Yep.
It has to be with the Z.
All right.
Well, my last name's Starzitnik. In the military, you go by your last names, and nobody can say that, so everybody calls me Stars.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair.
But I'll make sure to include everybody's links down in the description below, because Lord knows nobody's going to take the time out of their day to actually go look for somebody. Because people are lazy. But I guess that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for joining me. It was a ton of fun, obviously, considering we went for 2.5 hours.
Thank you for having us. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And to everyone out there watching, make sure to comment down below. Let us know what you think the Buccaneers are going to do this season, whether you disagree with us saying they're going to be one of the better teams in the NFC, or maybe you disagree with our take on a certain player. I know we got kind of heated over a couple guys in this one, so if you disagree with that, let us know as well. And if you could drop a like as well, I'd really appreciate it. It goes a long way towards letting me know that you guys are enjoying the content we're putting out. Obviously, I'm going to keep doing it, but that little bit of support, it goes a long way. It goes towards making my day and whatnot. And since I know everyone that's subscribed to me is a wonderful human, I'm sure you all want to help make my day. But beyond that, I hope everyone watching this, and of course you three with me as well, have a wonderful day, night, evening, afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you. I hope you enjoy it, because you're all wonderful people.